Good evening, everybody. We're going to start this study session at 5:34 p.m. Monday, May 6th. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the study session. I just said that, but I'm going to say it again. May 6, 2024. As we stated the time, Mr. Domer, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Crosby.
Here.
Councilmember Kashipagita.
Here, sir.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Present.
Mayor Hepburn.
Present.
All present, sir.
The City Council will meet in study session for the following. City staff will present a preliminary overview with an emphasis on the explaining elements of the budget for the proposed operating budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024-2025. Mr. Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be presenting.
This is going to be a combination presentation, but I believe if Christy is here, she will start it off and then bring up her staff as appropriate.
Mr. Domer is correct.
Memory.
Good evening, council, city staff. Tonight we will be going over the preliminary budget review for 24-25. Additionally, we will be doing some overview of the different fund types that we have. And I will be calling up Jesus Jaimes to do this first portion of it if it wakes up. There we go.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, friend.
Evening.
Good evening. Tonight is the first of two budget study sessions that we will be holding to discuss the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. As a reminder, this budget spans from July 1st of 2024 through June 30th of 2025, and a complete budget must be adopted by council before June 30th. Our goal of this study session is for City Council and community members to gain a deeper understanding of the city's upcoming budget, and we hope to receive feedback and guidance as we continue the development. The budget is developed over a period of several months. As you can see, we began preparing this budget back in February, and since then, staff has been working on the preparation. This brings us to today, the preliminary budget study session. Looking forward, we do have a planning commission meeting for CIP on May 8th. Near the end of this month, council will receive a complete proposed budget for their review in preparation for the June 3rd meeting, which will be our second budget study session. And the upcoming budget is scheduled to be adopted at the June 17th council meeting. So, per council's suggestion, to encourage public participation and best prepare the community for effective budget discussions, we will be providing an overview of the various city funds and their functions. I wanted to start off with the general fund. This is the primary operating fund of the city. The general fund is the largest fund with the most activity and is funded mainly through taxes and other sorts of revenues, permits, rentals, and so on. These then flow into the general fund, which are then used to provide essential services and operations throughout the city, anything from recreation, public works, to administration. When most people think of city finances, they are usually thinking of the general fund. However, we have many other types of funds. For example, special revenue funds. These are funds that are restricted for specific purposes. So really here, the key takeaway is restricted use. These funds may come from a variety of different sources, such as federal, state, or county governments. And those revenues come with specific legal restrictions or designated for particular purposes. The city has over 30 different special revenue funds. And below, I have just a few examples of the most common ones. And just as a quick example, for example, gas tax, that's a tax per gallon coming from the state and can only be used for road maintenance. It can't be used for anything else. That's why it's considered a special revenue fund. We also have internal service funds. We have two, the equipment fund and the risk management fund. These are really designed to track and centralize internal operations within the city. And the way these work is these types of funds provide services, quote unquote, to all city departments. So for example, vehicle maintenance and replacement, or the payment of property or liability insurance. Since these benefit all departments, we ensure that departments are quote unquote paying their fair share. And again, it's just to track internal operations. And the main goal of these is cost recovery, making sure every fund, every department is paying their fair share. We also have enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are business-like operations. These would be our sewer and water funds. And these funds are meant to be self-sustainable. By this, I mean that the fees and the charges related to water and sewer should be enough to cover all expenses related to water and sewer. Below, I have an example of a 2-month utility bill. And as residents are paying for their sewer service charge, their minimum service charge, their water consumption charge, all of that should be enough to cover all related expenses. This can be anything from administrative costs such as billing, the actual water production and treatment, any scheduled or emergency maintenance, improvements of infrastructure, and so on. Most importantly, these revenues should be enough to cover expenses. And I know that was a lot of information, and I hope to provide a little more context. So we're going to go through some examples of how these funds actually work throughout the city. For example, we just recently had a water main break near Hillcrest. This was an enterprise fund paid through by the water fund. We also have a lot of public safety special programs, and it's not all just coming from general tax dollars. We're using, for example, the cannabis grant to pay for DUI checkpoints or cost sharing partnerships for crossing guards. Other great accessibility and inclusivity types of services and programs throughout the city, again, paid through different services. The ADA improvements at City Hall through CDBG, the regional inclusion grant to pay for special needs programming, and the inclusive playground, the Perk Your Park campaign. We also have community-based programs. The pickleball courts, which actually just opened last week, paid through with Measure A Park Development Fund. We also have the pool replastering, which is still ongoing. And we do provide subsidized transit programs, help to be paid for by Prop A and Prop C. Again, streets being paid, ADA curb ramps with CDBG, improvements at E and 2nd Street with EIFD, and most repaving you see throughout the city will be gas tax, Measure R, Measure M monies. And again, I know that was a lot of even more information, and it would take hours to go into detail. However, we hope this brief overview provided you a general sense of the city's funds. The biggest takeaway is this: the city has many funds, each serving specific regulatory and reporting requirements, and they all work together to better manage and operate the city of Laverne. Thank you. I'll pass it over to Christy Lopez.
Thank you very much.
And Christy, before you start, most of these funds are restricted in nature except for the general fund.
Correct. Okay, so now we're going to go into 5-year financial forecast. Just an overview, the financial forecast is using our best estimates based on historical numbers, okay? So first, I'm going to give you an overview of each individual type of tax, at least the main ones that we have. So property tax is the city's main source of revenues and makes up 35% of the overall general fund revenues. For every dollar that is paid towards property tax, 18 cents stays in Laverne. The rest is split between the county, special districts, and education, including primary, secondary, and higher education institutions. So of that dollar, Laverne gets 18 cents basically for every dollar. For the revenue forecast for next year for property tax, we are seeing that property tax are going to have about a 3% growth, but it is pretty flat in comparison to prior years. The housing has stalled a little bit just with inflation and with the interest rates. And across the state, we're seeing this impact. And property tax makes up 61% of the total taxes received in the city. Next is sales tax. Sales tax forecast is showing a growth of a little over 2% for 24-25 after a drop in the current year, 23-24, which was due to a reporting correction. Inflation has led to poor holiday shopping results, with state results at a decline of 2.5%. It is estimated that Laverne will recover, as the reporting correction was a single year fix, but the increase is below our historical growth of 3%. And this is a breakdown of the sales tax. I'm going to give kudos to Jesus because he put this slide together. It's very good. So for every $100 spent in Laverne, you pay 10.25 or $10.25 in sales tax, which is translated into $6 to the state. There goes $6. And then $2.50 to the county. And then finally, Laverne gets $1.75. So of that $1.75, $1 is the Bradley Burns, which is the general sales tax. And then that other 75 cents is the Measure LV. So Measure LV was passed in March of 2020, approved by the voters to provide support in both Tier 1 and Tier 2 expenditures. Tier 1 supports salary increases and provides funding to maintain our competitiveness with surrounding agencies. And then Tier 2 expenditures are service enhancements and or equipment purchases. So just recently we met with the Measure LV committee and went over the Tier 1 estimates that we have using the salary projections that we know of right now. We are still waiting for LVFA to come in, so we don't have that number yet. In addition, the Measure LV committee reviewed Tier 2 and has provided a recommendation to the City Council, which we will bring back to you. So this is the 10-year forecast for Measure LV. Some of the, for the goal right now with negotiations and of the city manager is to try and keep that red line either right at that green line or below that green line. As of right now, it's going to cross in year 27, and that's the estimates using 2.5% for all groups, with the exception of what we know. So right now, we do know that PD for this next coming year is going to get a higher increase. And then fire, we're still waiting on. But then future years, we are including 2.5% in those estimates. So this is a compilation of the 5-year, the revenues. I went over more in detail of the taxes because those are our largest sources, but this is a breakdown. So you can see that we are estimating that we are going to have a drop in transfers next year, which is a pretty large impact. Part of that is if you remember, asset forfeiture, we were paying confidential informants payments through a transfer. The DOJ and the DOT has said we can no longer do that. So we have removed the $1.5 million transfer. So that's part of that. Additionally, we have the 1.5 removed from the expenditure side as well, but that's part of that drastic drop. The other part is we do have an overhead utility charge that we have, which is currently being reviewed. And so we don't have that number yet because that is currently being, there's a study being done on that right now. And then here are our expenditures. We are projecting a 2.5% increase for salary and benefits, as I mentioned, with Measure LV. And And then for operational, we are projecting a 2.5% increase. But right now, we are still going through all the figures, so we don't have everything completed yet, but it is in progress. And then now I'm going to call up Isabella. If you have no other question or no questions right now about that, I'll call up Isabella.
Thank you, Christy. Any questions for Christy? We'll move to the next. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I will be moving on to the last section of the presentation for the fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget overview. And this will include our general fund reserve balance and our personnel requests and vacancies. So as we can see, we started off with a fund balance of about 17.8 million. The estimated resources will fund the estimated expenditures so that the city is able to meet our financial obligations for this fiscal year. The fund balance is comprised of committed, restricted, assigned, and non-spendable funds. The committed funds are determined by formal action by City Council. Emergency contingency is 15% based on the 2024 appropriations as well as prior year encumbrances. The 5% working capital reserve is also based on the 2024 appropriations. The committed funds will always be 20% of future expenditures. Restricted funds are for a specific purpose stipulated by legislation or external service providers. The pension trust are funds set aside for the purpose of pre-funding its CalPERS pension obligation that will be held in trust for the exclusive purpose of making future contributions of the city's required pension contributions. Restricted funds include SB 1186, which is the Disability Access Education Fee, and that is collected through business license and can only be spent for disability education. Restricted also includes certain donations like concerts in the park, which can only be used for concerts in the park. As for the assigned funds, they have a specific purpose which does not meet committed or restricted criteria. They include benefit obligations and capital projects. Benefit obligations are for vacation and sick hours, including liability, which is set aside in the event every employee decides to leave and we are able to pay out that liability. As for capital projects, we typically have a fund balance of $500,000. However, City Council has directed that $171,700 be used for the Lowell Grant Playground, which was approved in fiscal year 22-23, but expended this fiscal year. Lastly, the non-spendable funds cannot be spent because they are not in spendable form or legally or contractually required to be maintained intact. These include subscription-based leases, and this is due to the GASB 87 pronouncement, which defines a lease as a contract that we cannot cancel until the contract has been terminated, so they need to be separated as a liability. Are there any questions?
Ongoing.
So I will move on to the personnel requests and vacancies. The overall change to the city's personnel requests will increase by 5 positions, not including internal reclassifications, which total about $776,000, of which about $718,000 is from the general fund and around $58,000 are from other funds. There are also currently 24 vacancies, 18 of which are full-time and 6 part-time, and that has a total of about 2.4 million, of which 1.9 million is from the general fund and about 519,000 are from other funds. Administration, which includes the city manager's office and city clerk, is requesting the removal of an administrative clerk 2 and requesting an administrative clerk 1, which would lead to a cost savings of about 17,000, and the department currently has 2 vacancies. Finance is requesting the removal of an accountant position for a cost savings of about 109,000, and there are currently no vacancies. Police is requesting to reclassify a communication supervisor to a support services manager and a management analyst to a senior management analyst. In addition, there are 2 new requests: police community services officer and a police lieutenant for an estimated total of about $378,000. And PD is currently operating with 7 vacancies. Fire is requesting 3 reclassifications: 2 firefighters to firefighter paramedics, a part-time ambulance operator to a full-time ambulance operator, and a reclassification for one of the part-time fire assignment employees, as well as the addition of 3 firefighters for a net estimated total of about $352,000, and they currently have 1 vacancy. The Community Development Department is requesting 2 reclassifications: 1 part-time administrative clerk to a full-time administrative clerk, and 1 assistant planner to an associate planner, for an estimate total of about $15,000, and this department has no vacancies. Public Works is requesting the removal of the Public Works Manager and requesting a Deputy Director of Public Works as well as a Maintenance Lead Worker for an estimated total of about $122,000. The department currently is operating with 14 vacancies, 8 of which are full-time, 6 part-time. Lastly, Community Services is requesting 2 reclassifications: 1 part-time clerical assistant to a full-time administrative clerk, and an administrative clerk 2 to an administrative secretary, for an estimated total of $36,000, and currently does not have any vacancies. Are there any questions regarding personnel?
Any questions?
So as for our next steps, we will be asking council for their feedback and direction as we continue to prepare the budget. And as Jesus mentioned earlier, the next meeting will be this Wednesday, May 8th, for the Planning Commission. June 3rd will be our second budget study session, and June 17th will be the adoption of the budget. And I will now pass it on to Public Works Director Meg McWade, sorry,
Thank
to
you.
go over the capital improvement projects.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we will be talking capital improvements. So basically, the capital improvement program is really about improvements to our infrastructure, whether we're adding new or whether we're just rehabilitating old. The first really deals with the funding sources, and finance already did a great job of talking about restricted versus not restricted. Same thing exists in the CIP side, where road money is really intended for roads, water is for water. General fund is the most flexible source, but we unfortunately don't have a lot of that because we utilize it for a lot of other great programs. On the right-hand side, each one of the departments in this room is really good about actively seeking grants and earmarks. I want to recognize them for that, but this is just a highlight of some of the millions of dollars that we've gotten to improve both public safety, parks, and even EIFT, a creative funding solution that community development helps with. So this, we borrowed a slide from finance, but it's beautiful. This is the funding sources for streets. These are some of the completed projects that occurred in year 2024. So you'll see on the side, we have the Las Flores Park Pool shade structure. I want to recognize Community Services for being lead on that project. Thank you very much. They also, we did the Las Flores Park Court surface fencing improvements. We're done with that piece. There's another piece of soundproofing that we need to activate. We also had the EIFD and 2nd Street improvements, 6th and D Street crosswalk funded by a grant, community center roof rehabilitation, and 2 of 3 ADA sidewalk and curb ramp accessibility projects. And I would like to recognize not only Cody Howing for his leadership role, our city engineer, but also Colin Purdy, Ramiro Nunez, Ryan Ciotti, and Christy Ramirez, our funding through now. The next is projects underway. So what else are we doing? Right now, we're working on the Las Flores Park Aquatic Center, the pool deck and replastering. We also have the City Hall ADA improvements. All are familiar with those. We have the Las Flores Park South restroom, which is we have the pickleball soundproofing. We have the AMI automated metering infrastructure project. Basically, this is water loss. We've already installed roughly 800 meters. And the next piece is that the actual fixed network infrastructure that we're working. The other things are when I came to Laverne, I just love our roads, and I know we want to keep them in the beautiful condition they are. We will be activating road projects. We have the street rehab SB1 funded Grove neighborhood, Hayes King, that's out to bid. Then we also have the street rehab for B Street. That's finalizing design, and that will be bid in June. Then we have the plateau, yes, the little roller coaster ride we call B. And then the Plateau Summit water line. So in order to activate that project, we need to do some system upgrades in order to keep the people in water and fire protection. So we'll be doing those at another location and then activating the actual line rehabilitation. So, but what am I here for tonight? It's basically to ask for additional money for additional projects. So basically it's a 5-year CIP, but council activates 1 year of authorized funding. So this is the request. It's roughly $11.5 million worth of requested funding. These first are our annual sidewalk predominantly funded, which is Community Development Block Grant, and then the pavement management request. We use the pavement program to determine what's this, and Arrow Highway, other than slurry seal project, Arrow Highway, the next biggest investments that we be making. These are budgeted projects. So these are the projects that you previously approved that need additional appropriations in order for completion. So we have the EV charging analysis, but also EV charging installation out at the city yard. We have the video management and security camera system. We used to call this the mesh network that PD is implementing. There's an additional funding for the water sites that will be added to that. So and a large part of that is funded with grant funds. So again, good job in getting grant funding for that. Parks Las Flores, this is the pickleball court soundproofing, and the B Street project will need additional funding based on current asphalt prices. We also have the AMI meter conversion. This will be over several years. This is the next year's ask. We also are activating a grant application in October, and we're hoping to get a lot of that project funded. The next one is the Live Oak generator. Again, a generator in order to keep our pumps operational if the electricity goes down. And then the Plateau Summit pipeline. This helps fund part of those system rehab, but also the pipeline rehabilitation itself. So these are the new projects that you have not seen before that we're asking for funding for. So this is the facility, City Hall roof. Those of you that have been here during stormy seasons know that it's definitely a need for us. We also have the fire station roof that magically does the same thing, so it requires replacement. Facilities, Veterans Hall flooring, again, I'd like to recognize Yvonne and her team for taking lead on that. Facilities furniture replacement, PD records and detectives. This is being funded with asset forfeiture funding. Public Safety Emergency Operations Center upgrades. This is the Napolitano office grant. Then we have the public parking improvements at the Church of the Brethren, miscellaneous striping and signage, and this includes not only some bike improvements on Durwood Way that weren't done when the project initially started because of school schedules. It also includes crosswalks down D Street and some improvements up along Esperanza to put lighted chevrons in that corner area where that turn is. We also have the Heritage Park gazebo, Oak Mesa Park playground equipment, sewer line rehabilitation, SB1 Hayes King neighborhood, Arrow Highway rehab. I mentioned that that's a major investment. This is one of the phases of it. It will be close to $6 million, we think, for the pavement portion. And then we also have Ramona Avenue pressure reducing valve, which is a water system, and the water line system rehabilitation. Those who came before us did a great job of coordinating pavement, underground utilities, and we want to continue that tradition. So this is a placeholder so that as streets get identified, if we need to replace the water lines in them, we're doing that as well. So the bottom line total for new projects, 7.4 million. And so this is basically how the money would be utilized. So for the most part, it's streets and water. And in the annual, even though it's 2.1 million, 1.9 of that is program. And so predominantly it's streets funding is what we're requesting in next year's budget. Anybody have any questions? It is. And obviously it's a 5-year program. So what we bring back at the next study session will include all the other projects that departments were interested in having on there, but we simply cannot fund. So they've been out of. years.
And there are sometimes that, we saw a picture, emergency happens when a water main breaks. How much is in a fund for those type of things as well?
So we do have reserve balances. I know that in the presentation by finance, they talked about water and sewer needing to support itself. We are right now going out to a cost of service consultant study, and through that we'll establish reserve policies and practices that'll help us fund those kind of emergencies.
And my question earlier too, the enterprise funds, they said should pay for itself. So the question is, does it or does it not?
It at this moment pays for itself, but it is eating into the reserves, which is never a good practice. So there's no contribution from the general fund side at this moment to offset those operations. And that's why the cost of service is so important for us to activate and bring forward to you.
And also I know with, I'm sorry if I'm taking up.
No,
On the personnel part, we have a lot of vacancies in Public Works.
Yes.
I know it's being in personnel. I know it's hard to hire people sometimes too. How are we doing to make sure we're filling those vacancies? Because I know the work then is put on to the people we have, and I don't want those people to be leaving Laverne either to go somewhere else if they're overburdened because of vacancy.
Yes, and that's a great time for me to thank the Public Works team because they're pretty phenomenal. And we have some here that are serving in double capacity, but we are working with the HR and city manager's office to prioritize the recruitments. And some of them are joint recruitments, right? So we have maintenance worker, we go out for maintenance worker classification. In fact, we have 3 of the 6 parks maintenance workers that we're hoping to fill with a current recruitment.
Yeah, the 14 employees being down, my major concern, department wanted something in place that to recruit some.
Good people, yes.
I just want to say that I appreciate what you guys have been doing because first of all, this whole format, we've never had this before. I think it's extremely important for all of the departments. Christy, because we've all been asking and the residents have been asking about where is the money? And this is kind of an overview, but it gives an idea of how this functions. And I really do appreciate that. But we are down employees and I do appreciate the fact that everybody's working. I would say what we call it a skeleton crew, where you really have some key players that need to be put in place, but we really appreciate that as far as this part. And when we go from as many down as we have, that really only have 5 requests is pretty good. I mean, I know that everybody's working very hard in every single department. I know the city manager's working on it with all the departments, and I truly appreciate that because it really takes a team to do this. And I know that the finance department, I know under Christie's realm, has gone through a lot of changes and adjustments and, getting ourselves moving forward, which I think is extremely, extremely important so that we can have these meetings. And money's money. Unfortunately, we're going into an odd situation this year with grants and everything else. So what we have is great. It's just that we, as we're doing right now, we're kind of hunkering down and getting ourselves set for a year that may be not so promising, some of the stuff we do. No. So anyway, you continue? Or is that it?
No, I'm done.
Can you
Oh,
give some additional detail around the cost of service study? Like what is the timeline looking for that? When would we anticipate hearing back on that so that we can evaluate that component?
So I'd like to recognize Andrea in City Manager's office. She's been helping us move that forward. But we have interviews, I believe it's this upcoming week, and we plan to award in June. Then the process starts, and it's usually a 6 to 9 month process. So we'll probably have the rates in front of you roughly in December and start the public hearing process and community meetings. And then with the goal to have them adopted by July 1st of next year.
Okay, thank you. I just want to extend my thanks as well to you and to all the staff for working together to put this together. And I really can't emphasize enough the search for funds in other places because the buckets of money that we have and the resources that we have to obtain monies to do the things that need to happen in the city are limited. So I appreciate the creativity and I appreciate the thoughtfulness in pushing that forward so that we can try to figure out how we're going to fund things on a go forward basis. So thank you.
and to carriage on that, I think it's extremely important as we're having a change of upper management in our state, which is going to happen in November, more than likely, that trying to rekindle these relationships with our new electeds to make sure as Councilmember Lau said, that it's all about relationships. It's all about, our city and the relationships we have with Grace Napolitano and with Alex Padilla and Susan Rubio. She was at the fair. These relationships, and she's staying, thank goodness. And I know that Grace is moving on, and Assemblymember Holden, they've been extremely gracious to us. So that's because of the relationships you guys have with them too. Extremely important. They like our community. They like how we function. We do things by the letter of the law. And so it's kudos to all of you guys that we get this for, besides our electeds, it's about the staff and the city management and our relationship. So kudos to all of you. Thank you. I'm going to, yes, I was going to open up public.
I know this is a two-part, and the next one, can we have what our reserves been, our historical reserves been for the last 5-6 years, just so we know where we're at, if we're growing reserves, how much we're eating away of reserves and all that too. So that's open too. If it just if we can, I know our general fund and our balance, it's gonna not been easy. Next year's not easy. See where we're at though. Thanks.
Thank you, Hank. I also want to note too that I know the police department, I mean, that's pretty staggering, down 7 employees. So obviously you're only asking for 2, but I'm sure there's going to be a need for more. So we're trying here to support also fire, to build the team that's necessary to protect our neighborhoods and our residents is extremely important. So I'm sure we all take note of that we need to work on that, and we need to work on that quickly, because we need to have at least semi-staffed or full staff for our police and fire and our public works and all of our departments, in order that we give our residents the service that they need. At this time, I'm going to open up public comment. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Public comment? Well, that would be no. So we'll go ahead and close public comment. And I think we're done. Well, I appreciate it. Christy? No other questions? Because you're just coming up for your pen. Well, again, I want to appreciate the staff's time. You guys have done an amazing job. It gives us an idea where we're at. May not always be pleasant, but I'd rather know what's going on than not. And I think we have the direction we need to move in. And so our next meeting is going to be extremely important. And again, honesty is the best policy. Let us know what's going on. I did not bring my checkbook tonight, so maybe next time I'll have my checkbook so we can, all of us will donate to the fund. Oh, never mind. Cash is looking at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, we are going to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned until recess. We're going to recess to the 6:30 meeting at 6:12. Thank you all. 38. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody tonight? That's great. That's good. It's nice. Everybody's chatting, and that's what we want in our council chambers. Everybody to be a big family here. So welcome, everyone, and we'll get our meeting started. It is now 6:38 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order on May 6th, if you can believe that already. I want to remind everyone that per the city's rules of decorum, all speakers, members of the audience, and council members are to conduct themselves with decorum and not to engage in conduct that interrupts the orderly conduct of the city council meeting. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Tonight, we're very pleased to have once again our very proud veterans to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance for us tonight. Mr. Anderson, if you please.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Crosby. Yes. Yeah.
Every meeting, we have a veteran come before us and do the flag salute. Today, we have a special veteran for myself, Richard Dick Anderson, my father-in-law. We have to let people already in for dinner. You gonna take him out or what? No, I wish I can. Can I? No. That was a no. Dick served in the U.S. Army. He was an Army sergeant veteran from the Vietnam War, and always appreciation for your dedicated service to our country. And thank you so much for everything you've done. One more big round of applause. Thank you.
Actually, Star Hanson, well, we are a very thankful city, and recognizing you on this month is extremely important to me. And as a veteran, I'd love to know a little something about you, Airborne, if I can. So you started in the Army in what year? I want you to tell us a little something about you, Airborne.
Not airborne,
All right.
air mobile.
Air Mobile. There you go.
I served from 1966 to 1968. Last year service was in Vietnam. I was a platoon sergeant for a mortar platoon with the 5th Battalion, 7th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division, Air Mobile.
Mobile. Hey.
And served over there in the jungles for a year, lived out there. Saw a lot of things, but as we all did as veterans. So I appreciate the recognition. And I thank you.
Well, welcome home.
Thank you.
Now we have to roll call.
We know that. Roll call, Mr. Domer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Waiting for everybody to be set. So Councilmember Crosby,
Here.
Councilmember Castro-Figuita,
Oh. Here.
Councilmember Lau,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Hepburn,
Here.
all present, sir.
Thank you. Tonight, we have a number of presentations. The first one is going to be several presentations. The first one's going to be a presentation of the YFAC student representatives. Councilmember Rick Crosby and Councilmember Wendy Lauer are going to do this for us. They're rather close to this group, and there's somewhat of personal interest also to Mr. Crosby. I don't know if it's his daughter or something. I don't know, something like that. Some relative, I don't know.
Also bringing up on our board is Denise Fisher on our Youth and Family Action Committee. Our other board members that could not be present tonight is Don Kendrick and Gary Pilato from the school board. So the purpose of the Youth and Family Action Committee is to encourage, coordinate, and facilitate the involvement of citizens and community organizations in combating the problems of substance abuse, gang activity, and community violence. This past year, YFAC has had the participation of 3 Bonita High School student representatives, and they attend each of our monthly meetings and providing invaluable contributions to help at-risk youth. This committee was also made over 20 years ago by one of our audience members as well. His name Dan Harden. So please put a round of applause for Dan Harden for really developing this. And Dan was a teacher and a city council member at the time, really looking to help bring things to our city to really help our youth. And so these 3 student representatives for the past year have been Riley Crosby, Berlin Stillens, and Nathan Kwan. been on this committee. I was on this committee when I was working in the school district. When I became on the council, I got put back on this committee. And for the first years, we didn't have student representatives. Two of the student representatives, Riley and Berlin, have been on it for the past 2 years. And then Nathan joined us this past year. And we really value their opinion because they know what's happening at the schools. They can see we need their voices. And so thank you so much for participating and being your voice of the students. And looking forward to next year's students to coming up and taking your part. Thank you again, and really appreciate what you guys do.
We're going to now move on to our next presentation, a proclamation for Older Americans Month. I'm an older American too, so no offense to anyone, okay? I reached that a long time ago. May is Older Americans Month, a time for us to recognize, honor our older adults and their immense influence on every facet of American society. If I could have Terry, Ed, and Betty Donovan, you guys come up. Actually, the whole group, the whole senior advisor group. Come on up, please. Let's go. Come on. You come up, please. We're not starting until you come up. That hard to deal with on the committee? You were for how many years?
A few,
How many?
31.
31 years. Give her a round of applause. Come on. Oh, my goodness. And she's so shy. City of Laverne proclamation. Whereas each May we celebrate Older Americans Month, led by the administration for community living to honor the hard work, devotion to family, and commitment of older Americans to the community, which have laid the foundation for the country today. Whereas the theme of Older Americans Month 2024, Powered by Connection, highlights the essential role that the social connections and meaningful relationships play in promoting health and well-being. And whereas fostering strong social connection enhances the mental, physical, and emotional health of older Americans, contributing to their overall well-being. And whereas connections is crucial for supporting independence and aging in place. God, we're all aging in place. That stinks. We have to change that. Helping to combat isolation, loneliness, and other challenges faced by older adults. And whereas connectedness is crucial for supporting independence and aging in place, helping to combat isolation, I think I'm doing this again, loneliness and other challenges faced by older adults. And whereas the city promotes resources that enable older adults to engage actively in community life through events, social clubs, recreation, volunteer opportunities, and local services like transportation. Now be it proclaimed by the City of Laverne that the month of May 2024 be recognized as Older Americans Month, and encourage the community to engage in activities that strengthen the bonds among older adults and between generations. Dated this 6th day of May 2024, signed myself, Tim Hepburn. Congratulations and thank you all. Not congratulations for us all being old, just congratulations. We're all in a team here. But I also want to thank our Community Services Department under the direction of Duran and obviously Ken Domer, the city manager. We do an amazing job with our seniors and all of our groups. And it's just a testament to our city and the resources that we have for our seniors. We also have our police department that checks on individuals that live by themselves. And we do an amazing job. Yvonne, she's sneaking up here. She deserves a round of applause. She does an excellent job. And she puts up with She puts up with him. Oh, shit, that's true. You deserve a bronze medal. Anyway, congratulations.
I'm not one for speeches, but I've been on this committee for what, 15 years, 20 years? It was thanks to Chick Compost. Remember Chick? He was an old timer. He was no longer with us. Well, pray to God he's all right. And I thank Yvonne for putting up with us and the city to put up with us. We're trying our best to do what we can, but there are things that we haven't been able to get done yet, but we're working on it. Thank you.
Oh, we're good. One more.
Stand by.
The next presentation is the Military Appreciation Month proclamation. National Military Appreciation Month is a month-long observance in the United States dedicated to people who are currently serving in the United States military. Here in the city of Laverne, we are a great honor to have numerous veterans and always look forward to show them our appreciation. Mr. Phil Ramirez, Commander, VFW Post 12034, and all of your other gentlemen, if they'd like to come up too, please. And the ladies. And definitely the ladies. Airport. What do you want me to do? Put him in his place. Believe me, we know who the boss is. I'm not, hey. I don't want to do push-ups. City of Laverne proclamation, whereas the freedoms and security enjoyed by the citizens of the United States are the direct results of the vigilance and dedication of the United States Armed Forces throughout our nation's history. And whereas the sacrifices made by those who have served, those currently serving, and their supportive families have preserved the liberties that distinguish our nation as a unique member of the world community. And whereas veterans of foreign wars, post VFW 12034, is committed to serving veterans, advocating for them and their families by providing community service programs and fostering camaraderie among veterans. Whereas VFW Post 12034, Commander Phil Ramirez embodies exceptional leadership, organizing fundraising events and providing services such as distributing Christmas gifts to veterans and their families, thereby bringing holiday cheer to the veteran community. And whereas Commander Ramirez represents the pride of Laverne and exemplifies the spirit of National Military Appreciation Month. Now be it proclaimed by the city of Laverne, the month of May 2024 be recognized as Military Appreciation Month, and encourage all citizens to honor current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces and their families, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Dated this 6th day of May 2024, Tim Hepburn, Mayor. Congratulations. Congratulations.
It's an honor accepting this. We thank the city of Laverne. All of us have earned this proclamation. We've done a lot of work to helping our veterans. And just a reminder, on May the 27th, we are going to have a Memorial Day event at our post, so everyone's welcome. Okay?
Thank you very much. Just so you know that that's not just for the veterans here, but for the veterans all over. They have certain days that they have services come to provide services to the veteran community, no matter who it is or where they're from. And they do a lot of work. They keep things going here. They're a vital part of our community, and we're really proud of all of them. So thank you all for being here, and thank you all for serving our community so well, and thank you for serving our country. Thank you. You all. They'll be on sale later. Got it. Thank you very much. Oh. Here, Rick. Yeah. We'll let them clear the crowd. Thank you all for being here very much. Yeah. Oh. Yes, Dad just. There you go. Dad spoken. Thank you. Our next presentation regarding a proposal for additional statues at the Veterans Memorial. Describing the proposal and announcing its efforts is former Councilman Dan Harden. Mr. Harden, you have the mic, sir.
Thank you, members of the council and the staff here at the City of Verne, and thanks for all the folks here to support veterans and our students and our older people, all of which I qualify.
You and me both.
I guess I picked the right night to be here. You know, you honored veterans, you've honored students, you've honored the elder. As long as I have the microphone for a few minutes, I thought I might remind you about a few things that apply to veterans. Because you have lots of ceremonies and lots of occasions when you meet veterans here, it's important to recognize that there really aren't a lot of veterans, not even a lot of active duty soldiers. The population of the United States today is about 341 million people, the approximation. Of that number, only about 0.4% are active military. When you think about the population and the number of people are providing freedom to all of us, 0.4 seems like a very small number. Many of those folks that we're talking about serve and have served the city of La Verne. So think about the city and how many veterans we recognize here. If we go down to the Veterans Memorial, you'll see 600 pavers on the ground there that honor veterans. You'll see another 33, I think, on the obelisk that honored those killed in action. There are 7.8 million living U.S. veterans. About 43% of those served in the Gulf War era. As a matter of fact, I think we have one here, Councilman Cash. And an interesting fact for me, Councilman Cash and my son, Commander Sean Harden, met in Afghanistan. So I don't know all the circumstances because I think they were doing some things they weren't telling people about. But, about 5.6 million living veterans, that's 30% of us served during the Vietnam War era, 1950 to 1973. Former Mayor Don Kendrick was one of those. Former Councilman Charlie Rosales was one of those, and I was among that number. Around 767,000 veterans served during the Korean conflict during the 1940s to 1950s. Former Councilman Robert Rodriguez served during the Korean War. So this council has a lot of contact with veterans, and I'm very proud to say that I'm part of that, I did that while I was on the council, and I see that you're doing that now, and I think that's a wonderful thing for our community. We didn't talk about World War I because we have some World War I names on our list. They served in a different time than we recognize, and a lot of those folks that died during the First World War from America died from the flu. Probably as much as half of them that went to war died on ships on their way there. So although they didn't fight, they didn't die in battle, they died for this country. So just so the veterans know, we're thinking about them all the time. I thought I'd remind you about those numbers. I would like to recommend to you the idea of once again growing the Laverne Veterans Memorial. That memorial did not happen all at once. It happened over a series of years. I think the first time we thought about it was just after 9/11, 2001. And almost immediately, the city council here started doing things recommending or honoring veterans. For a while, we would bring people out on the patio and they would introduce themselves, and we would honor them in that way, salute the flag. And we had an officer, Marine captain from Lutheran High School down the road when they were here, and he would come. It was interesting to me to see that every veteran saluted that captain. Before the city council recognized veterans, we did some other things here. And you're doing some of the things here tonight. We'd bring veterans into the council chambers and we'd recognize them, often give them some sort of a certificate that recognized their service. So it's a long-standing tradition to do that. Remember, all of you remember Carla Sullivan, or at least some of you remember Carla. She was worked with seniors. And she also had a son in the Navy, and she came to us with the idea of the banner program. And you've seen lots of banners here in the city of Laverne over the years. And she was the one that started that program. And then it was shortly after I became a councilman, the members of VFW Post 12034, actually it wasn't, it was a Claremont post. They started coming to our city councilman and asking if they would participate in some of the events. And then we started having events down at Monero Square before it was reconditioned. That started to grow, and we couldn't accommodate all the people there, so we took them down to Veterans Hall, the park there in front of Veterans Hall. And we had ceremonies there. One of the interesting things that happened along the way is as the crowd grew, elected officials from the state and from the federal government wanted to come and speak to the people that were gathered at that crowd, usually the year before an election, if I remember correctly. About 2010, the Laverne Veterans Memorial Committee was formed. I was one of the folks on that committee. And we came to the city of Laverne and we asked if we could form a committee. The city accepted that idea and appointed 2 staff members to the committee to work with us. And so the Veterans Memorial was created under the auspices of the city of Laverne. Appropriately so, it's on a city park and a city facility. So we were happy about that. Now you received a handout this evening. I'm not going to go read it all to you. I'm sure you're quite capable of doing that, but I want to point out a few things. What we would like to do is create 3 statues. We haven't yet decided on anything about them, but I submitted some ideas to you because this is kind of what we talked about. In your folder, there's pictures of the 3 statues. But the first one is about Brian Anderson. About 10 years ago, Brian Anderson was a speaker at one of our ceremonies. For those in the audience that don't know, Brian Anderson served in the Army in the first, or in the Iraq War. He was severely injured in that war. He's a triple amputee. And he came to speak to the veterans and the citizens of Laverne about his experience. And I think one of the things we forget is that, yes, we have a monument that honors the war dead. We have a monument that honors all veterans. But many of those veterans came back with severe injuries. And Brian reminded us of how severe they can be. A triple amputee in a wheelchair is a real strong reminder. He was in the Army. He was a sergeant. I'm pleased to tell you he was a military policeman. I have an affinity for military policemen. That's what the badge is on my jersey here tonight. Of course, he was a Purple Heart recipient, and he received many other awards. And if you read through the material I gave you, he was a very successful man. He spent a lot of time in the movie industry, was in very many movies that you probably would recognize the names of, everything from, I think he was a stuntman in some, but if you read through there, there's a list of the things that he actually starred in. So he didn't just quit. Just like he was in the military, he was committed, and he committed his life to doing things for others. He was a public speaker, a motivational speaker, and he came to our ceremony to be a motivational speaker to us. So one of the statues we would like to have is a soldier in a wheelchair, probably an amputee. None of this has been decided, but these are ideas that we're presenting to one another. And you can see the picture of him there. Maybe if I can turn and show the audience, you can see the gentleman in the wheelchair. So I've already spoken to some businesses that create these kinds of statues, and we're not yet certain what the material is. We thought gold would be good, but maybe not. The other one that is often overlooked, and we almost did that today in this meeting, are the women that served in the military. And we would also like to have one of the statues be of a woman. And lastly, of course, we would like to have a man that is in the military also. We haven't yet decided the pose of the soldiers, but we think that maybe a salute would be an appropriate pose in front of the memorial. I think also in the packet at the end there is a map of the memorial, and it kind of shows where everything was planned to be. This is one of the original maps. And in our thinking right now, we're planning the idea of 3 soldiers on the street side of the memorial and facing inward. So just to give you an idea of what we're thinking about. I think I've covered most of it. And what I'm here to ask you this evening is that you allow me to reorganize the committee to begin this work. When we actually first started this, we understood that we were never going to be completely done with it. We started with the idea of obelisk. From the obelisk, we went to an idea of pavers. From the pavers, we added the battlefield cross. And then when a new service was instituted, the Space Force, we decided to add flagpoles that would accommodate those forces. So this is kind of a natural progression in my mind of things that we can and should do. And what I'm asking is you allow me to reorganize that committee, and maybe you could appoint a staff member or 2 to work with us. We would need to know what the city wants us to do in terms of permits and that sort of thing, and working with staff directly is a big help in those kinds of things. So do you have any questions? You've had an opportunity to look through that little folder. There's a lot there. And I think this was the appropriate night to come and ask you about this. So.
Well, I first want to thank you. You're always amazing at what you do for our veterans, including yourself and the people that surround you. But Veterans Day has always been extra special in our community because of your efforts. And it takes a lot of work, and it's extremely emotional every time you do that. And I understand, and we really appreciate that. So I'm going to turn it over to our city manager to what do we?
Yeah, based on Mr. Hardin's presentation, what we can do is put together a staff report to bring it back at a city council meeting to have, that designation of 2 staff members. I know that we've been looking at the monument. There's been some repairs that are being made. We're putting some stuff together prior to the memorial celebration, and looking at some long-term plans so we can wrap all that into that type of report, bring it back to you for action.
Very good. It does need some TLC.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there this afternoon.
Yes, I was there by yesterday, and I'm going, okay, it's seen better days on some of its plaster, so we've got to do some and some of the greenery. But so
Would you be able to bring it back to council at our next council meeting, just so we know about timeline? especially prior to Memorial Day, make announcements, maybe at that time as well?
We will rush it and get it on for the next meeting.
There you go.
Is
That
there-
good enough?
Yeah, is there a person I should contact directly or?
Go ahead and contact me.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Domer, he's the boss.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
ladies
Mr.
and
Harden.
gentlemen.
Thank you for your service too. Thank you.
While he's working that, I am going to share that quick story. It was Afghanistan. It was 2011, and we were in the middle of nowhere. And out of nowhere, I went somewhere. And anyhow, long story short, I see this really tall gentleman, Navy guy, right? And I see his name on there. It said Harden. I was like, man, you look familiar. He goes, oh yeah. I said, yeah, you kind of look familiar. And this is, mind you, this is in the middle of nowhere in Afghanistan, the height of the war. And I was like, hey, you're that guy that was in the parade in the city of Laverne, aren't you? He goes, yeah, I go, you have a dad that teaches and was a city councilor or something like that in Laverne. He goes, that's right, that was me. Where do you know? In the middle of nowhere, two kids from the university, from Laverne, in the middle of war. So I never forgot that. Oh.
Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Rick Bowen brought this up to me, and I know we're celebrating our military, and I think this is a perfect time for this and very apropos. Before we have one more. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Before we move to our next presenter, Washington D.C. 1980 Museum Statement on 2024 Days of Remembrance. Washington D.C. in 1980, through a unanimous act of Congress, our nation made a bipartisan commitment to the Holocaust memory by mandating that the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum led the country in an annual from Sunday, May 5th through Sunday, May 12th. There was a shared national understanding that the Holocaust was a pivotal event for all of humanity, including the United States, given our history and unique responsibilities. American soldiers bravely fought to defeat Nazism and preserve our democracy, and many Holocaust survivors rebuilt their lives in the U.S. The Holocaust teaches lessons about the fragility of democracy, our own nation's failures to accept more desperate Jewish refugees to our shores. This is very apropos for now. As just coming back from Europe, I was able to visit on the trip previous was Birkenau in Poland, which was a concentration camp, which pretty serious stuff, and also Normandy Beach. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's just a remembrance that tens of thousands of military personnel from all over the world lost their lives in one day to preserve the freedoms we have today. So just thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. We move to our next presenter, which is going to be from the California Department of Insurance on the FAIR Plan. I'd like to call forward the Deputy Commissioner for Community Relations and Outreach, Julia Juarez. Well, that was a short presentation, wasn't it? Not as short as how much they charge me when they cancel my insurance because I'm in a high fire zone.
and Mr. Mayor, we did have confirmation that she would be here, so I'll go ahead and check with her.
We're doing this because of the fact that so many residents in Laverne, not just North Laverne, but Laverne have lost their insurance due to the fact of a myriad of reasons, whether fires clearance, whether close to fire zones, high fire zones. Companies stop writing insurance. Pretty much sad, very sad. I know my insurance, I think, went up to like $8,000, and I had to use the FAIR Plan. I think it's called the FAIR Plan, California FAIR Plan, to substitute for the insurance because they just literally canceled me after the same insurance company, probably for been in Laverne almost 40 years, same insurance plan. So it's serious. And the problem is the FAIR Plan is not necessarily reasonable. It's just it's not fair. That's right. But we brought the reason I'm saying this, we brought this has been going with Susan Rubio and some of our electeds that are trying to get this wrapped up so it becomes into a bill that they can get it more fair for us. But right now it's still kind of loose, but you can get reinsurance, but it is costly. And And the thing is until we get this bill signed, the problem is these insurance companies are waiting to come back into the marketplace. But we all know when they come back in the marketplace after they've left, what do? They raise their rates. So anyway, sorry that we couldn't have her here. This is extremely important. I know we did at the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. We wanted the commissioner there to explain why this is going on. And we'll be doing this with all of our utility companies as we come forward, because as we know, electricity, gas, everything's going up, and we need to know why. We need to know what we can do as residents and as cities to help maybe save money. So anyway, with that, we come up to announcements of upcoming community events. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you want to do okay. We're going to take a 2-minute recess for some pictures and stuff for family, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, we're going to get the meeting back started again. We'll move right to announcements. This is for upcoming community events and nothing to do on the last item. So this is mostly announcements which are coming forward with the city. Let's go with George May. Library. Good evening, George.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and Laverne residents. I've got a full lineup for May and June. This is the most I've reported on at the council meetings. We have about 10 events, 10 programs. So
do you need a chair?
No.
We got time.
No, thank you. So just want to make sure that with the exception of one program, they all have limited attendance, so they require pre-registration. So you can do that by going to our website to visit.lacounty.org/events and narrow the search down to Laverne Library, or you can go to the library and talk to one of the staff and sign up one of these programs. So the first event we have, starting this Friday, May 10th, we have the beginning of our new Smarty Pants Storytime session. This session is going to be from May 10th through June 14th. It's going to be every Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. It is for children ages 2 to 5 with a parent or a caregiver. The kids they'll be able to enjoy books, songs, rhymes, movement activities, and also learn some basic school readiness skills. Tomorrow, Tuesday, May 7th, from 6 to 7 p.m., we have a program called Musical Travels, Tangos, Country, and Chrysler. We're going to have a violinist, Paul Stein, who's a 36-year member of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and his concert will present composers from Europe, South America, and the United States. He will talk about the lives of the composers and also his experiences in the orchestra. This program is for adults. On Saturday, the same this week, Saturday, May 11th, from 11 to 11:40, we have a program in celebration of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Month. It is titled Rhythm of Inspiration, Japanese Taiko Drums. The performer Isaku Kageyama and his group, I hope I got that right, is going to entertain and educate us in their program about taiko drums. This is an adult program. Again, attendance is limited and registration is required. On next week, Wednesday, May 15th at 5 o'clock, I have discussed this program, previous council meetings. It's Bubble Mania. Attendees will learn about the science of making bubbles. Just about anything you can think of about bubbles, it'll be there. You'll see big bubbles, small bubbles, square bubbles, triangle bubbles, bubbles with
George, is that inside or outside?
Inside.
Oh, that's going to be a bubble mania.
Bubble Mania.
Okay.
And this is a children's program for ages 6 to 12 with parent or caregiver. And on Tuesday, May 21st, from 6 to 7 p.m., we have another program in celebration of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It's called Hamang Paj Natub Motifs. The attendees will work on an art motif that's based on the Paj Natub, which means flower cloth, to the Hamang, which is an ethnic group that migrated from China in the 18th and 19th centuries. And so attendees will learn about the symbolism in those cloths and also how they're used in storytelling. And that is for adults. Then on Saturday, June 1st, we're going to have two programs. One is a program that has been brought to us by the American Indian Resource Center, which is headquartered in our LA County branch in the Huntington Park Library. It is called Sacred Circle. It's going to be from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on June 1st. The performer, Eric Hernandez, is a traditional Native American hoop dancer affiliated with the Lumbee tribe. He was taught hoop dancing by his uncle, champion hoop dancer Terry Goodell, at the age of 12, and he has shown his hoop dances to over 1 million spectators. So if you want to see the art of hoop dancing, please come and join us that Saturday. Now, that same day, June 1st at 3 o'clock, we are having a orientation for volunteers who want to participate, who want to assist the library in our annual Summer Discover Reading Program. The Discovery Program runs through June 4th through August 10th. And during the orientation, there'll be discussion of scheduled the shifts that the volunteers will be provided, and priority is going to be given to those who attend this orientation. So this is on. So you got two events on June 1st: the Sacred Circle, plus the volunteer orientation for teens. This is for ages 14 through 17. Then on Saturday, June 8th at 2 o'clock, we have a children's program, ages 6 through 12. It's called the Library Bandit Puppet Show. Dipsy is excited to go back to the library and made a cake to celebrate the date. However, the Library Bandit, who is guilty of not returning books, steals the cake. So if you want to find out, solve this mystery, please come and see the programs. Then on Friday, June 21st at 4 o'clock, we are having one of our programs as part of the Summer Discovery Program. It's called DIY Sensory Cube. It is for ages 2 to 4. The toddlers who show up will explore the sense of touch by using a sensory cube. They will explore the rough textures, soft textures, smooth textures, and they'll have an ability to create their own sensory cube that they can use at home. And our last program, not the least program, there'll be others, but they haven't been approved yet, is on Wednesday, June 26th at 5 o'clock. It's called Summer Fun Doodles. Those attending will learn about the benefits in doodling and doodle things related to the summer season. This is for our children's ages 6 through 12. Again, other than the Sacred Circle, the Native American program, all of these have limited registration. Limited attendance, so they require pre-registration. You can do that online by going visit.lacounty.org/events, or you can go on site and talk to one of our library staff. So as you can see, a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things for everyone, adults, children, and teens. So please come on out, support us. I think you'll have a good time.
Councilmember Cash, you want to sign up for the doodle?
Yes.
The doodling?
I will be there.
George, it's you know what, we kid, but it's serious that there's so many things at the library that we need to really participate, because this is free. It's free to the public. We have a wonderful library here that we should be utilizing. So I know we put it up on our website, do we not, on our city website, as far as the library stuff. So we'll make sure we try to push this out, but it's really important that people get involved with this, because there's some really neat stuff there, even for Councilmember Cash for doodling. But that's another story.
Go online and go to the library. You can sign up.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Jill Dolan. Josh. Oh, that's your sidekick over there. Okay, just checking. Okay.
Good evening, Council. My name's Jill Dolan. I'm the Director of Public Affairs at Mount SAC, your community college. But tonight here, I am representing the Laverne Chamber of Commerce. So congratulations to our 2024 Laverne Teacher of the Year recipients, who will be honored next week at our dinner on Tuesday. So now I'm going to list off our 2024 honorees. Afflerbaugh Page Camp School, Laura Macias. Bonita High School, Kelly McArvey. Calvary Baptist School, Maricela Mendez. Damien High School, Sebastian Borges. Grace Miller, Sabrina Harris. Holy Name of Mary, Carol Chambers. Joan Macy, Patricia Merkel. Laverne Heights, Elizabeth Quezada. Leroy Haynes Educational Center. Kelly Mullivane, Oak Mesa, Danae McKibben, Ramona Middle School, Colin Campbell, and Roynan, Jana Miranda. So they'll be honored next week. Congratulations to all of them for all the work that they do throughout the year for our students. And also congratulations to our 24 Laverne Chamber Scholarship recipients. Since 2019, we've awarded $13,250 in scholarships through the generosity of our members. And from Bonita High School, Riley Cosby, Lauren Escada, and Isa Islam. Each will be awarded $500 after submitting proof of enrollment. And now, my sidekick, Josh.
Oh, maybe it is. Is that going to be at Hillcrest? Or is it going to be at Mountain Meadows? Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
Wow, back to
Believe it's at
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
That's the first. Wow, good.
Good evening, everybody.
I was going to be in the wrong spot. No.
Good evening, council members.
Josh.
I'm here to talk about Love Laverne Day this Saturday, May 11th. It's the inaugural Love Laverne Day, so we're trying it out. It's a great opportunity to come together with loved ones, folks from organizations that you're involved in, to give back to the community and really celebrate what makes Laverne great. Right now, we have 6 volunteer projects. I'll go into that in a second. It'll start at 9 a.m. There's a rally. Projects will start at 10 a.m. and they should wrap up when they do. There's really no time limit. Some could go longer, some could be shorter. Some of them are we're gonna do trail cleanups, packing goodie bags at some animal shelters, different things like that. WM is going to be doing alleyway cleanups. There's still tons of room to sign up and find volunteer projects that are suited for you if you go to lovelaverne.com, and hope to see everybody there.
Thank you, Josh. Sherry, Best.
Sherry Best with the Laverne Historical Society, and we are also participating in Love Laverne. So if you would like to help us decorate one of our remaining 6 display cases, you can come to my house at 10 o'clock in the morning after the rally and wear your painting clothes. We're going to paint, we're going to decoupage, and we're going to get these display cases ready to go. I want to put one at the Veterans Center, maybe the police department, maybe the community center, City Hall. This is all an opportunity to display artifacts that belong to the Historical Society that need to not be hidden in my basement. They need to be out there for people to enjoy and to see. So this is a chance to love Laverne, and it'll all be happening on the front lawn. Okay. The Historical Society has teed up 3 more activities in May and June. First of all, we have the 17th of May. We have 6 more spaces available for our field trip to go see the, having a little brain freeze here, to go see the Mission San Gabriel. So the bus is provided by Supervisor Catherine Barger's office. So this is a $20 event, $10 for admission, and $10 to help fund the goodies we'll buy for you to eat on the bus, and a little modest fundraiser for the Historical Society. So this is a really fun event, and if you're interested in attending, come find me and I'll tell you how to sign up. But seating is limited. We're down to our last 6 seats, so I'm very pleased about that, actually. 2 events are coming up in June. On the 9th of June, we are going to have a joyous celebration at the B Street Cemetery. The last time we did a cemetery tour was in 2019, then we were shut down by COVID, but we are returning to the B Street Cemetery to visit the grave of 5 early presidents of the University of Laverne, who will be represented by enactors who will tell their story about who they were and what they did and how they made a contribution to the city of Laverne. This is a fun event. This is free. It's open to the public. We're open between noon and 4 p.m. So just drop in and you can visit the grave sites in any order you care and get a little local history of early presidents of Laverne. And finally, on the 10th of June, which is a Monday, we're going to have a presentation about the life and time of Pancho Barnes. Pancho, whose name was actually Florence, Lowe Barnes, was a California heiress and celebrated pioneer aviatrix who founded the first movie stunt pilots union and was Lockheed Aircraft's first female test pilot. She was also the founder of the notorious Happy Bottom Riding Club that's now on the site of Edwards Air Force Base. She was a wild one. Yes. Pancho outflew Amelia Earhart, outsmarted Howard Hughes, outdrank the Mexican army, and outmaneuvered the United States government. Her favorite quote was, "When you have a choice, choose happy." We're going to meet on June 10th. That's a Monday at 7 p.m. at the Hillcrest Meeting House, and we will be raffling off 2 copies of the Happy Bottom Riding Club, The Life and Times of Pancho Barnes. This is a really good read. She was an interesting person. Raffle tickets are going to be $2 each or 3 for $5 at the door. So come celebrate with us and have a really good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Memberships will be available at all these events.
Anybody else for announcements? Please. Mr. Shipman, Risk Reduction Specialist, Lonnie Shipman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Sorry, I'll submit this later.
I think we know who you are. Yeah.
So I'm here to kind of retroactively discuss May 4th, which was Wildfire Preparedness Day, and not to be confused with May the 4th. And if anybody happened to see the video we put out, our dear old Sparky the fire dog was confused and thought it was the May the 4th be with you day. And
I had to watch it twice, but I got it right after that
Okay.
second one. I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, got it.
Yeah, but May 4th it's really a good reminder. It's a jumping off point to really pay close attention to your wildfire preparedness. You know, our goal is to really get the tools and information out to the community, make sure everybody knows that there are a number of steps you can do on your own to really harden your defensible space and really be aware of your ignition zones and know what you can do. We have a link tree that's attached to our Instagram page. It's got a number of different websites, and I'll discuss those in a sec here. But it's really important for everybody in the community to, pay attention to that. We've had a lot of moisture, obviously, this past year. We're having a lot of vegetation growth, and certainly, the outlook could be seen that we're going to, experience maybe something from that. Not sure exactly what that is. Knock on wood. Hopefully, it's a pretty mild year, but you just never know. So. There's again a number of resources that we wanted to share. Our very own Fire Marshal Fred St. Ange was on the video to kind of discuss again how to harden your different zones. Your zone 0, which is your first 5 feet from your home. Zone 1, which is your 30 feet barrier from your home, and then your zone 2, which is out 200 feet. So really critical. There's the CAL FIRE website has a number of great resources on there. One of them that I actually discovered. And we have it again on our Instagram page, and we'll be sharing that and pushing it out, is they have a Ready for Wildfire checklist, which is a mobile app, but also a tablet app and a desktop app. You go in there, you punch in your zip code, they ask you a number of questions. If you own or rent, what kind of amenities you have on your home, things of that nature. And then it'll give you an actual checklist of the steps you can take to harden your defensible space, to really make sure that you're doing these things that we're discussing. So it's really, it leads you right down the path, so to speak, of what you need to do. The National Fire Protection Association, NFPA.org, of course, everybody hopefully at this point is kind of getting familiar with that. A number of other wildfire preparedness resources as well. They have a great number of things on there. But that kind of delves into the conversation you guys were having earlier about the Fire Protection Plan. And NFPA is the steward of the FireWise USA program. CAL FIRE has been also championing this program as well. And as everybody should know, at this point, we're attempting to try to get this launched here in Laverne. So we are looking for board members. We've got a few of them. We'd like to get maybe a couple more, but we're probably pretty close to being able to launch, very soon. The great thing about this program is CAL FIRE assigns us a regional coordinator that will actually assist us as you go through a process. The process is really supposed to be derivative from the community. We're looking for folks that are interested to be on the board, that are really willing to put some of the initial work in. That really starts with an assessment of the community. course, the fire department's involved, and CAL FIRE is right there with their regional coordinator to assist us all along the way. It's an application process that part of that process, when you actually submit that, it's a 3-year plan that you end up with. And the goal is to get organized, find direction, and take action to really increase your ignition resistance and reduce your wildfire risk. The 3-year plan will give us steps and things we can do annually to ensure that we are kind of meeting what those goals are. And what it is you get recognition. So it's not a certification. They're very clear about that. It's a recognition. And the critical part about that, as you guys discussed earlier, was that we get a lot of phone calls from folks such as yourself, Mayor, that are their insurance companies will ask, do you have a Firewise USA program here in town? Because our insurance is telling us that if we don't have it, either we're not going to maintain our insurance, or we're going to not receive potentially a discount and it's going to increase. So there's a lot of benefits to this, and any household in Laverne can participate and join. Clearly, we're looking for folks, and the boundaries will establish, of course, up in the foothills northern area, of course, the very high fire hazard severity zone, but anybody can participate. This is a community-wide effort. I mean, I know that, in the times I've been up here and we've spoke about other things related to community safety. Laverne is a very tight-knit community, and everybody cares about each other. The neighbors have each other's back. So no matter where you live in this community, you are welcome to participate. We'd love to have you. I know Councilmember Cash, I'm not even going to attempt it. Cashvagita?
Got it.
Okay.
Good.
He's kind of helping lead the charge as the point of contact, but certainly we are available. If you don't know who to contact or reach out regarding this, please reach out to the fire department. And again, please check our social media pages, our Facebook, our Instagram, and our website as well. We have a lot of information on there for wildfire preparedness, and also how to reach any of us at any of the fire stations. Quite frankly, it'll get routed to the proper person, and we'll be glad to help. So with that, I just wanted to share that information and let you know and let everybody know in Laverne that we are really working hard to try to develop something that'll help these folks, because I know it's a very tough time.
I appreciate what you and the chief, and also from Councilmember Cash, because a number of us here in the room here have been through these fires, and they're not pleasant, especially when you have to evacuate your homes. And as we've had so much rain, that doesn't mean we're not going to have a fire season. That just means it's going to be put off, and it's more fuel when it does happen. And I think it's very important to not only contact you guys, but also look at all the material you guys have. And I really did appreciate Fire Marshal St. Ange. That was really good. It was funny, but yet serious, and gives you the information. But it's very important to right now start clearing away from your house, your gutters, your clearances from your neighbors, making sure you discuss. And that's the thing, discussing with your neighbors.
Absolutely.
We're all family here to protect each other, because it's going to get real. And, we want to be prepared and not have devastating actions like some of these other communities have had. It's serious. But on the other token, too, with this Firewise, is the fact that hopefully the insurance companies will say, hey, maybe give us a reduction or not cancel the insurance, even though some of them are leaving. Hopefully they come back. But at the end of the day, we as residents have to take it in our hands right now to make sure we clear that. So they come out and inspect your house, guys, before you even know it. You don't know they're there. They'll take pictures from the exterior, just so you know. They did it to my house just recently, the Fair Plan. They do come out, they do check stuff, and they'll just cancel your insurance and say your tree's too tall, it's too close to the house, your gutters, it's like, it's crazy. So we need to take action on ourselves and make sure that we follow what our fire department tells us. And thank you. Appreciate that.
You bet. And yeah, the Firewise, it's a very minimal investment of your time for a major return.
Yeah.
Honestly, we look for at the most minimal aspect, an hour of time annually to do some home hardening, and that will just maintain the recognition year in and year out. So yeah, please contact us if you're interested.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any other announcements? Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I just want to remind the residents, this Thursday, May 9th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Probation Oversight Commission meeting. And there's nothing really pertaining to the camps here at Laverne, but the Probation Oversight Commission has released statistical data on their website, and it covers a lot of important information that I think residents are wanting to know about. It covers incidents that use the OC spray, age, gender, ethnicity, pre and post adjudicated youth, the breakdown of the youth in the juvenile halls by case study so that you would know what level of offense that they've committed, and also the number of youth disposition to the secure youth treatment facilities, which is the SYTF that many of us have been discussing over the last few years. So it's a really important information. It's free to the public. You can go to the website. It's poc.lacounty.gov. And you can also attend their meeting in person or also participate through their WebEx and get more information about that. But I think that's really important information for the residents, especially up in Northern Laverne, to know what's going on at the camps.
And you just sign up for that. It's up on the website. You can sign up for any of those.
The POC website and click the menu, and it's called Dashboard, and it has graphs and it has all the statistical data there. It goes back to year 2022 to current year. So
And then the live meeting too. I was on the last one, but as you know, Danita, that it's very frustrating because a lot of the stuff that they go over has to do with some of the Los Padrinos and some of the issues they've been having with their guards, drugs getting into the camps and things like that. So, but every once in a while you get what we call the golden nugget. They talk about our camps in North Laverne or Rockney and San Dimas. So it's really important that we keep an eye on things, but it's a long meeting, but if you doing other things, just keep an eye on what they're doing, especially when it comes to certain items that like Ms. Bochamp's talking about, especially the camps. So
if anybody's been up to the camps recently, you can't drive up the driveway to the parking lot
guard.
anymore. There is a
Guard.
security guard there now, and they have a lot more strict security, which is good for both the residents and for the inmates there. So
hard to do a minute with a mayor though.
So do it across the street at the
Yeah,
trails.
it's just right in front of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Von Gallegos, Cassie.
Hello, good evening. My name is Yvonne Gallegos. I am the Vice Chair of CASI, and I just wanted to bring to the attention of the community because over the past few weeks, I've been talking to residents, and I want to put out there that, well, to the community, that did you know that there is a cultural awareness and social inclusion committee here in Laverne? A lot of people do not know that. We are called CASI, again, Cultural Awareness and Social Inclusion. We meet monthly, first Tuesday of every month. So tomorrow we will be having our meeting at 5 p.m. At Hillcrest at the Citrus Room. So everybody is welcome to come and to participate. And yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email cassie.laverne@gmail.com. I did have a resident reach out to me recently, and we had a nice talk about Cassie and someone who wants to be involved, which is fantastic. So we encourage everyone to come. Like I said, have your voice heard, looking for ideas and people to further spread the word about, you know, how inclusive a city Laverne is. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Bowen?
People you almost run into. Evening count, I'll try to adjust this because I haven't been hearing much back there. Mr. Mayor and Council. Number one, I want to thank you for the Holocaust remembrance. Today is the actual day, and it just with all that's going on, 6 million Jews died, and I think that's important for all of us to realize. It's coming from an Irish Catholic. I just want to say Thursday, April 25th, the Laverne Coalition of Concerned Citizens, LV3C, had a live meeting with Ken Domer as our invited guest speaker. We wanted to do this format. We used to do it. COVID kind of interrupted, but this format's designed to have all residents have a voice and be able to ask their city leaders, council people, et cetera, questions that are important to them. And I think Mr. Domer would support the fact that he got a variety of questions from a variety of people, and we want to continue that. After a brief introduction, Ken took questions from all audience members that had questions, a variety of subjects, including the budget process that we just heard about tonight, future building issues such as the Lutheran High School property, homeless issues, local crime, et cetera. So there was a plethora of questions. Thank you, Ken. We also, LV3C plans more meetings like this in the future. In the upcoming months, we had previously invited both Wendy Lau and Rick Crosby. In all fairness to them, they did decline, but it was prior to their appointments. So hopefully, we're asking again that they would attend. So again, keeping it under 2 council people, there's no quorum. And again, it's designed to let all residents ask questions, especially because of the district voting now, that people want to know what's going on, not necessarily in their district, but how things will affect the entire city. After that, hopefully, we would love to have Cash and Mr. Johnson come in and attend the same thing, as well as other city leaders or outside, as long as it depends, or as long as it is affecting Laverne. So the possible chief of police, possible chief of fire, et cetera, et cetera. Again, thanks to Ken for your attendance and your willingness to be very open and honest and transparent. So thanks again for everybody that attended, and we look forward to it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pavone. Anyone else wish to speak? Any announcements? Not on public comment, but announcements. With that, here you can. Give me that look.
I know.
Yes, you can.
Okay. I was like, just checking. For those of you that don't know, our city does have a Friends of the 4th of July committee. And I know that it may seem like, gosh, July seems like a long ways away, but it's not. So there is a committee. Cash and I both sit on it. Basically, this committee is comprised of community members that come together to put on all of the things that you've probably come to know and love about the city events. They work with our staff and our police and safety and fire to make sure that we have an amazing event. And so they asked me to convey to you that they are, this sort of broke up during COVID, but they were collecting donations from community members in order to put on what we have all known to grow and love as our 4th of July festivities in the city. So I wanted to encourage folks, if you are interested, we can get you the sponsorship forms. They also wanted me to thank Kim Barlow and her firm, Jones Mayer, for being our inaugural platinum sponsor of the event. So there's a lot of moving parts involved in putting on this event, from the parade to the fireworks show to, all the things in between. So if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, there are obviously things in it for you too, such as tickets, recognition as a sponsor, Instagram, social media recognition, your sign, a sign bearing your sponsor's name. I don't think they put margaritas in here. Sorry. I was like, no, so she would have donated more at that point. But it is a really fun time. It's one of the things I love best about the city. So if you are interested in donating or supporting in any way, please let me know. And also, if you're interested in being on the Friends of the 4th of July committee, we welcome your participation. And so I do also want to just shout out, we have a subcommittee within that committee that is in charge of all our sponsorships and our donations. And that's Ashley Fernandez, Jamie Giuliano, and Don Kendrick. So thank you to them. Thanks to them, we have all the fun things on the 4th of July. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lau.
And I am supposed to ask all of my fellow esteemed colleagues if you would help lead the charge in the sponsorships.
I'll start with that.
Okay, you're up. $100. Okay. Sorry, Steve, you're $100. Just a real quick announcement. Yes, the fair is open. Councilmember Lau, Police Chief Gonzalez, community service, Yvonne Duran, and a couple of friends, the police chief's wife and Jamie, and that Susan Rubio was there at the ribbon cutting at 3. It was at 5 o'clock at the fair on Friday. So was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. But anyway, what I'm leading to is this Friday is Laverne Day at the fair. So you can purchase tickets for $1. I think it's up till Thursday, Ken. Yvonne, up till Thursday. You can purchase tickets online for $1. So that's pretty cheap. I mean, so the day of the fair, it's 8. It's all day is Laverne Day at the fair. So that's Friday. I think you can get Yvonne, I'm going to put you on the spot. Parking online as far as Laverne Day at the fair? Yes, you can get online. So I would suggest I would do it online because the day of it's going to be full fair. So it's going to be a great day. It's lots of fun. We were there that day and it's really cool. A lot of good stuff, a lot of great food, a lot of fried food. So make sure you take your pills before you go. Other than that. Okay, with that, we're going to close announcements and we're going to move to consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are routine and will be enacted by one motion unless a member of the city council or a member of the audience requests separate discussion. Council, are there any requests to pull any of the consent calendar items, or has anybody pulled any items? Mr. Delmer?
Nobody pulled from the public.
Okay, with that.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
There you go. Okay, vote please. I have.
The only one that's-
The consent calendar was approved 5-0.
I still get good. Thank you very much. You got that? Yeah. Thank you. We move to public hearings. We have 2 items tonight. The first matter is the public hearing to approve an amendment to the contract between the Board of Administration of CalPERS and the City Council and introduce the ordinance for cost sharing. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting.
Thank you. I'm going to call forward Christy Lopez, our Finance
Again.
Director.
Christy, come on up.
Good evening again, Honorable Mayor, City Council, and staff. This evening, I bring forward for your approval a resolution of intention to approve an amendment to the CalPERS contract for the city's retirement system. Additionally, I am recommending the introduction and a waiving of further reading of the ordinance authorizing an amendment to the contract. If approved, the next step is to hold a secret ballot where each employee impacted will have the opportunity to vote. Depending on the outcome, we will move forward with the filing of the paperwork with CalPERS. And after waiting the required 20 days we will bring back the ordinance for final adoption. And I'm available for any questions that you may have. This is definitely a procedural thing that we have to do to amend our contract. And it is required by them for us to do.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, CalPERS does not make it easy, but this was something that those employee associations that we recently negotiated with agreed to in their memorandum of understanding. So we are bringing that back as part of the PERS policy or procedures that are set forth in state code. So
I want to say too, I appreciate the cost sharing from the employees. It's something that is very generous on their part to help us to cost share as far as their part of their CalPERS retirement program. So we do appreciate that. I think all of us as council, and also it helps the city, and there's a cost savings there for us also. So I think that's great.
Yes.
Councilmember Crosby.
And the price of CalPERS just keeps going up. I know we have our MOU with the unions, but you said that each member has to vote
Correct.
on that. Although the members have already voted on the MOU to pass, what if the members individually say no?
Then what we would do is bring back a closed session item to talk to you, or even to do that on the next meeting anyway, to kind of go over some scenarios. But it is expected, because this was agreed to and negotiated. It was part of the recent COLA that hopefully the individual members follow through. But we'll be prepared either way to talk to the council about that.
This has been happening a lot with multiple cities, so it's something, but again, I don't want to use the fact that it's very generous on the employee's part. It helps the city. It helps our retirement plan, which you all know CalPERS is at best, I'll just say crazy. When they lose, we pay. When they gain, we pay. When we basically we pay for everything no matter what. And the crazy system we're in, but this is going to help somewhat to ease that. But anyway, we'll move to, thank you. Mike, come back up. I'm going to open up public comment on this item. Any wish to speak on this item? No, it's exciting. You can see it in all your faces. It's big for the city, though. We do appreciate that. We'll close public comment, bring it up to the dais. Any comments for Finance Director Lopez before we go on to a motion? With that, I'll ask for a motion. Second?
Second.
Vote, please.
Item 10 was approved 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. We'll now move on to the second matter, the resolution amending 2024-25 fiscal year comprehensive fee schedule for the implementation of a 2% technology fee on all building permits to cover permit software licensing, plan review software licensing, and additional technology costs associated with the permitting, plan review, and inspections. City Manager Domer, please call for the staff member who will be reporting.
From the Finance Department, Ellie Luau will be doing this, and Eric Shear will be available if there's any questions regarding the actual permit software.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable City Council, city staff, and residents. Tonight, I bring forth the recommendation to amend the recently adopted fiscal year 2024-25 comprehensive fee schedule to add the technology fee on all building permits to cover permit software licensing. As part of our budget process, departments review their existing fees and provide revisions or additions to the fee schedule. Although the Community Development Department had identified this additional fee, they noted that the Building Industry Association of Southern California requested notification, which had not been completed timely. This technology fee will be a 2% fee on all building permits to cover permit software licensing, plan review software licensing, and additional technology costs associated with permitting, plan review, and inspections. And that will summarize the amendment to the comprehensive fee schedule revision. And with that, we could open to any comments or questions.
Any questions? No? I want to thank you. I know that the basic thing about this is the fact that it's cost for services, not additional costs, but cost for services, so that any fee that we have in our fee structure. And I want to thank staff for giving us that fee structure and showing us everything. Yeah, it's a lot of reading on a Saturday or a Friday, but I think it's really important that we know what it is and what the changes are. And you were very in depth about it. That gives us an idea of what we're doing here. And so the fee is just additional. It's an additional charge for actually what we're not getting recouped for right now. So it's going to help us to recoup the actual costs for the service. So.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the permit software allows for online permitting, and the first 3 years was covered by a grant that's expired. And so it's believed that the best nexus, again, is that those that are utilizing the system actually pay for it, those that are benefiting from that activity. And so a 2% charge is less than when we are looking at other similar cities, what they charge around 5 or 6%. Some do a flat fee, but the 2% covers the cost for our system and our size.
Works out well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll open up public comment. Any public comment on this item? Go ahead and close public comment. Any comments for staff on this item? Thank you, Ellie. We'll go ahead and I take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Vote, please.
Item 11 was approved 5-0.
Very good. Thank you again. Brought your boss with you. Hi. Hi. Yes. It's late, Mom. I want dinner now. We'll move on to other matters. There are 2 items. The first one is the award contract for psychological evaluation services for concealed carry applicants. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting.
From the police department, I'm going to bring forward Lieutenant Chris Dransfeld.
Good evening. Good. How are you tonight?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. So I'm up here to let you know that there's been some changes in the law regarding the CCW psychological evals. January 1st of 2024, Senate Bill 2 was enacted, which changed the fees and requirements for CCW evaluation, psychological evaluation. The prior law, the change in the law eliminated the requirement that the applicant must use the same psychological service as the department uses for pre-employment evaluations. And also changes the law prior to January 1st. The applicant could only be charged a maximum of $150, and the city was subsidizing the additional $150 to the counseling team for each applicant. The law has changed now that the applicant, there's no cap on the $150. So the fee is charged directly to the applicant. In February 21st of 2023, the City Council adopted Resolution 2310, which required CCW applicants to undergo a psychological examination by a licensed doctor, with the cost of the exam set at $300. Prior law limited the cost to the applicant for such examination to $150. The applicant was responsible for paying $150 directly to the counseling team, and the city would subsidize the other $150. We were recently made aware by the counseling team that they were, due to the change in law, they were charging the applicant directly $400, which they claim was their normal fee. At that point, the city posted a request for proposals to other vendors, and we received 3. We received one from the counseling team, $400 per applicant, charged to the applicant. We received a second one from Seal Beach Counseling for $155 charged to the applicant. And then we received the third from Psychologically 360, which is up to $2,800 per applicant. And their fees are based on hours, but they're saying it's 5 to 6 hours. So that would be the charge. All 3 vendors were qualified. They all met the requirements established in the RFP. And an advantage to the Seal Beach Counseling is that they also offer the evaluation services via telehealth. It's HIPAA compliant, and that way the applicant can actually perform the evaluation without leaving the city. Seal Beach Counseling currently provides psychological services for Claremont, Santa Monica, Menifee, Murrieta, Baldwin Park, Southgate, San Gabriel, and West Covina Police Departments. They also provide pre-employment evaluations for numerous other police departments. Staff recommends utilizing the services of Seal Beach Counseling to provide CCW psychological evaluation services for all City of La Verne CCW applicants. The changes induced by the amended law allow the city to reassess the fee structure for CCW psychological exams to ensure alignment with the updated statutory requirements. As such, The city could discontinue all general fund subsidies by having the applicant pay the full $155 directly to the vendor. At this time, it's recommended the applicant continue to pay the same amount as adopted in Resolution 2310, with the applicant paying $150 towards the psychological exam and the city paying the $5. While the updated provisions of the California Penal Code provide a city with the ability to increase fees and have applicants pay the entire amount, its schedule is set forth by the city council on February 20. Applicant continues to pay the $150 directed to the provider. It will maintain the current fee schedule set forth by the city council on February 21st, 2023. The city will pay the vendor the difference in the cost of the service, or $5 per application. Based on the current applications, it's estimated the approximately 40 new applicants a year. Do you have any questions?
Are we still using the service of my CCW in that process?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Mr. Crosby?
How many applicants did we have go through already?
I can't give you an exact answer.
Because I know in the beginning was most likely the biggest, largest number
Correct.
influx to have it. But you say there's 40 average a year.
I would say 40, probably at the most, new applicants.
Because and then Mr. Domer, you might be able to answer this for me though, is how much is budgeted for, since we were paying 150 on top of what the resident paid, 150 for our previous one, how much is budgeted in this account to purchase this?
So there's no specific account for it. What we did back when this was approved in the comprehensive fee amendment for it, basically, we just said we would absorb the costs within the police department budget. So we didn't have it budgeted in the budget. We do know that there's been about 93 or so, that's the latest figures I've had year to date that have gone through the process. The 40 is what we expect because we knew there had been a delay from the sheriff's department not doing it, and then the city finally putting the program in, so that 93 was kind of the glut of demand for it. Going forward, we do probably expect about 40 based on the number per month that we've seen in the last several months. That could change. So we don't know exactly what it will be, but again, at that, if we continue to subsidize the $5, we will, absorb that within our budget at this time.
Heard you name a couple cities, but those are a lot of those are outside LA County. I know I heard Claremont, but if you are a city that's contracted with the sheriff's department, those currently do not have to do psychological tests, correct?
So currently that is correct, because if a city within LA County contracts for, law enforcement, then the county covers it. So whatever the county requires in their fee structure, however many staff, that's what somebody, so San Dimas, if you live in San Dimas, you're going to the county for your concealed carry weapon permit. You're paying, whatever fees the county does.
They have fees, but I'm saying they don't require a psychological test.
Correct. The LA County at this time does not require that psychological examination.
And in the state, it is a may, so it allows us to do it, but it's not a must for people to initiate CCWs.
Correct. That is a may. That is correct. It was a recommendation of the police department, and it was approved by the council. So that's why we're going forward with it.
Okay.
This is not a part of the renewal process to have to go through the psych test.
do the psych test first once.
And at least according to what we have in our deal, it's just the one time unless there's reason for
Reapplication or something.
a redo of the psych exam.
Any other questions? We'll move to public. Thank you. We might call you back up. We're going to open up public comment on this item. Anyone wish to speak on this? Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, council. As we all know, this is such a sensitive issue. We're all aware of the lack of enforcement from our LA County District Attorney, making it difficult for the police officers to do their jobs, and CCWs can help with that. And the exorbitant fees that the city is charging obviously is an issue because there's a lawsuit pertaining to that. But to require a psychological evaluation that is not required by the state, because it's also unconstitutional, I don't understand why the city would even set this up. Because if somebody presents a lawsuit, then you have to breach your contract with whoever you choose because it's going to be found unconstitutional. And that's just another lawsuit that's going to be, giving the city a black eye. We've already spent over $22,000 on the CCW lawsuit alone. Why are we opening ourselves up for more litigation? We need to do our best to avoid that. So I think you need to seriously consider this, and maybe, just as Mr. Crosby brought up, if the sheriffs are not doing it, why are we doing it? We have less staff to facilitate that, and that's just more documentation that has to be reviewed. I think that this is something that really needs to be tabled and considered before a vote is presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Any other comment on this item? We're going to close public comment, bringing up the dais. Mr. Johnson.
I do believe that there have been people that applied and have not received the CCW because of the site. I believe there are people that have applied for the CCW and were denied after the psych exam. So I think there is merit for the procedure. And I think the council has decided, at least, that while the state allows us to do this, that we will. Whether or not the Supreme Court would agree, that's a different story.
Councilmember Crosby. Sorry. See you.
When this came up, I believe that we should treat our residents like they're treated around our neighborhoods as well. And I know this was passed a 4-1 vote previously. I do believe that the new psychological test that is done is Seal Beach online. The past one, our residents had to travel to Ontario to do it, San Bernardino to do it, and it was difficult to get appointments. Appointments were canceled. I've gotten calls on that as well. They were at one time threatened to be overcharged for $400 at the time as well. I'm appreciative of the city going back and making sure it was done right and those residents were not overcharged. I believe, though, in the reduction of these fees are pretty much the same price that the city has been paying for these fees. And if there's an average of 40 people a year, the $150 per person is $6,000. If we are believing that it is a benefit to the city, and having this psychological test done for CCWs, I believe that the city then should pay for that because it's a benefit for, we believe, all for the city. And $6,000, a yearly average of 40 people getting them, I don't believe is an exorbitant amount. That would be my choice to, if it's only $150, $155 total, we were paying previously 150 of it, and the resident was paying $150. That would be my compromise to maintain this as a benefit for the city.
So I would, given what Mr. Johnson has shared, I do find that there is merit for the psychological exam, but I do think that if we were already agreed in the past to pay the 150, then we continue to pick up the 150 as previously voted on.
Councilmember Cash.
As law enforcement officer for over 24 years, I have, and in the military for way over 20 years, a combined over 44 years in dealing with firearms and people. I can tell you, going through multiple psychological exams,
And you passed?
and I passed.
Remember, you
So-
signed up for Doodle.
I did. But you know what? I'll do anything for a great time. That's another story. Law enforcement officers and military professionals, they got to go through it, and we have to be able to train and continuously train on when to use it, how to use it, being able to be on target. Not everyone can, I remember back in the days, they say, just shoot the tires and they'll stop. No, it doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. Anyhow, so I believe it's a good thing. Get people to, hey, if you want to carry a firearm, this is the rules we all play by. What is it? I just learned it not too long ago. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? And I just, for the life of me, didn't know what the gander was until much recently. But having said all that to say, hey, let's just get it done, right? And I like that part. If we can pay for it, then the city does pay for it. We're only talking about 40. Hey, 400 want to do it? It's America. Let's go, right? So
Thank you,
that's what I feel.
Councilmember Cash.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, you had something else you wanted to say?
Probably everybody walking in front of my house is gonna be carrying a strap. And
Anything else? I appreciate you guys bringing this forward because obviously when things change, we have to change with it. I still support Chief Gonzalez on his psychological testing. I think we need to do it. I'm a firm believer in it. I don't want to have it on my mark that if something happens because we didn't do a psychological testing that we have an issue. It's a background check. It checks to see if a person's safe or not. I think it's extremely important. I personally don't feel that the city should pay for it. I think that the $5 is great. I think that's generous. I think that there's many other things in our city budget right now that require for a couple hundred people, they are residents, but at the end of the day, it's a choice. We have services and programs that we do that we subsidize and help with our community, with our seniors, with our children. And I think that if a person wants to get a CCW, that they should be paying for that. Whatever, if we can get reduced costs, that's great, and the services that we provide. But I personally don't believe that we should be paying any part of that except for the $5 as the chief staff has brought up. And that's my stance. But if you wanted to make an alternate motion or, what do you guys? We don't even have a motion. So it's basically on approving this. So did you want to make an alternate motion to change what the staff has brought forward?
Well, I think that is up to the majority of the council. But if we want to do my motion and vote on it and then do, or put what the motion is presently written, vote on it. If it votes down, then we could do my alternate motion. I don't know where the side of council is feeling right now either, though.
So normally, Mayor, I would agree with you on this one that, if you are going to take on the cost of, or if you want to carry a concealed weapon, then yes, that's on you. That's what you're deciding to do, and you should bear the cost of that. I think the only thing that I think is different that makes me pause is that we previously agreed that we would subsidize the 150. So I think that, for the applicant to pay the $5, and if the services do increase as they may over time, that we're capped at that contribution unless some future council decides differently. But that's my rationale on that.
So capped at the 150, that's what they pay. If there's anything above that, we would pay the addition. Or no, are you saying pay the whole thing?
we previously agreed to pay
True.
150.
But our budget wasn't the same at that point either.
Understood.
We just had a meeting, so I think that we need to be very cautious about what we approve for increasing for services that we give out to our residents, that if we do for one, we have to do for all. Now, we have to be very careful when we do that. It's not a lot, but $6,000, multiply it by 5 or 6 or other entities that would like us to compensate them for that. We're not in any way, shape, or form right now in our budget to be able to affording that out of our general fund. That's just my, which was a wonderful, from our finance director,
Now,
Lopez.
it's my understanding first that it's not a requirement. The city does not have to require that psych test. And it's imposing another fee on our residents who want to exercise a right. So I think if we can cover that full psych exam fee, I'm all for that.
You know what I was going to say, Councilmember Crosby, you know, when we look at how we go about things, so, you know, last time we had a discussion on the landscape maintenance districts and the direct benefit to an owner. We also look at public benefits and all that stuff. So the one thought here is that when we look at fees and charges, we look at those private party benefits and public benefit. If the council, you know, continues to keep the psychological test, that could be viewed as a public benefit. We were subsidizing the 150 beforehand. So, you know, wouldn't be if you change this one time, it would be changed for everybody. We always look at that public benefit analysis of what is the city with its general funds paying for. And so that's how we would look at it and understand that by keeping the CCW or the psychological examination for CCW permits, there is a public benefit in keeping that, and therefore a nominal charge of, you know, picking up subsidizing 150 if it's truly about 40 or 50 applications per year. You know, if the council says that's what they'd like to do, we could justify that. Again, if it was 400 or 100 or 200, given our current fiscal situation, most certainly I'd want to bring that back, because currently under state law, we do have the ability to charge up to $150 for the psychological exam. Well, we can charge up to everything. Yeah, sorry. With SB2, we can charge up to the 2,880, but you know, we're choosing the better option for our residents. So.
Okay. Make up, well, how do you want to do this? We can
I make
vote
a
on the original.
motion that we use the proposed psychological evaluation services for concealed carry applicants, and that the city from now ongoing, not retro, pay for those services, which amount to $155.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, we will need to bring back the fee resolution to make that change. But we would take that as a direction to bring that resolution back.
As if it passes.
Correct.
Okay. So you. Go ahead.
I'll say technically there'd be a second and then there'd be discussion. So either it dies for lack of a second, or there's a second and then we can discuss it. So I'm not seconding.
I will second the.
So back for discussion.
So my only discussion point was, and I know it seems silly with the $5 at this point, you know, maybe to some, but we had previously capped it at 150. So I'm trying to strike a compromise where we're adhering to what we previously agreed to subsidize, but not going over that, even though it's 5 right now. Again, we don't know what that's going to look like later. So I'm not interested in continuing to subsidize the entire amount of it, but saying right now, if we go with this Seal Beach, it's 155. We'll subsidize the 150. The applicant has to pay the 5.
I still stand by the fact that I don't think we should be subsidizing but the $5. I think the $150 fee, understanding we approved it before, but our present condition, I think you're going to open up Pandora's box. That means that every other entity that can come in and say, we want to subsidize this, we want to subsidize that. I think we need to be very careful. understanding the whole thing. I believe in the psychological testing. I think we have to do that. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that we should be subsidizing the $155 or the $150. I think it's just the $5. No, I'm okay with that. But we need, we're down 7 police officers. We're only hiring 2. We're down 2 firefighters or 1 firefighter and a paramedic. We're down 14 people in our public works department. You start itching away at these budgets with 6,000 here, 6,000 there, 10,000 there, starts getting into people that we can put bodies in our vacant positions in our city. But I know that's kind of extreme, but we all saw the same, prospectus on what our general fund looks like and what the future looks like. So, but that's just my opinion.
No.
Take it to a vote.
No, and I mean, there's no motion, at this point, but I get where you're going, and I do. That is my concern, because I know we did just sit through the budget, and so, I'd like to, I guess, understand where there may be other cost reductions, if any. I mean, is this the same? Maybe the chief or Lieutenant Dransfeld can tell me. Is this the same entity going to now do the psych evals for, okay, not for the
No.
police? Okay, so
No,
it's,
we'll continue to use the other firm for our background evaluations for the police officers. So
there's
and
no cost reduction in that sort of increase or anything like that we
No.
can look to.
Yeah, in fact, I think they're probably increasing a little bit. So all costs are increasing, all that stuff. Currently, there is the motion by Councilmember Crosby. It has been seconded. So
Sorry, who seconded it?
Johnson
Oh, sorry.
seconded it.
My bad.
So there can be an alternate motion, or there can be a vote on it, see where it goes, and then
Mhm.
We have a motion. Second, I think we should vote on it. So, call for the question. No vote. Motion carries.
Motion was carried with Lau and Hepburn dissenting.
So again, Attorney Barlow, we will bring this back at
resolution,
Yeah, we'll bring
just
it-
amending this portion
Portion of
of
it.
the consolidated fee schedule for the CCW permit fees.
okay.
And normally that would not take effect for 60 days, but since the reduction, it can take effect immediately. So we'll
Immediately.
bring that back.
Okay. Thank you. Where are we at? Oh, this one here. Yeah. What did I do with it? Then. Oh, you got yours? Here. Okay, the second item in the Civic Center and Durwood Way parking review and proposed restrictions. City Manager Domer, please call forward the staff member who will be reporting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to introduce Captain Jason Prowse, dressed accordingly in his tie for this event.
I too am reaching older American status from.
Oh, nowhere near me, buddy.
So the reason I'm here, good evening, Mayor and City Council, I'm here to talk to you guys about the concerns with the parking and the capacity limits in the Civic Center parking lot. As we all know, parking here is getting busier and busier because of the increased visitors and traffic at the City Hall, the increased programs happening at the community center, as well as programs at the public library, as we heard tonight. This issue combined with what appears to be an issue with Nita High School's parking lot reaching capacity for their students. That is causing the students to park on Durwood Way as well as in the Civic Center parking lot, which is causing parking chaos, as like I said, I'm sure you've seen. But of the biggest concern that's taking away the overflow of the students parking on Durwood is taking away close proximity parking for our seniors who may have mobility concerns, and they need that up close parking to the community center, the library, City Hall, etc. What the city is proposing is that City Council implement a time limit zone that the city manager with recommendations from the police chief and from the public works director, and adjust that time limit after evaluation. We did conduct a study for 2 weeks of the parking on Durwood. And between the school hours of 7 to 3, there's virtually no parking, maybe 1 or 2 spots available during that time. And then obviously by 3 o'clock, Durwood is wide open. City Hall parking lot opens up. So the city manager currently has the ability to restrict the parking in the City Hall Civic Center parking lot. We're going to do that, but we're requesting the city council adopt a resolution to designate certain parking restrictions on Durwood during school hours and give him the ability to adjust that time limit as needed. Any questions?
Captain Prowse. Thank you. Just a quick question. Obviously, this has been vetted through the school district to let them know. I mean, it's our property. There's been a discussion.
So I had lunch with the superintendent last week, and I let him know what we're doing. That we were looking at both for the Civic Center and then for Durwood Way, and talked about some of the concerns we had about Durwood Way, and impacting folks who are going to like baseball practice afterwards, and even because as the school year goes on, there becomes more drivers because people turn 16 and all that stuff. One reason why, potentially looking at the south side, we wouldn't put any restrictions at first. The process we have is we'd have to come back to you to either lift a restriction or put on restriction. And what we're asking through this item is to do it via signage for the entirety of it. The initial would just be on the north side of Durwood, and going eastward, we're actually looking also at the bus where they park and all that stuff, and readjusting that because they're all over the place.
Can't they put it somewhere else? That is the worst spot in the world. I don't know why they ever put it there.
They have
It's
concrete
crazy.
pads, but I think, yeah, we'll talk to them, but currently the concrete pads fill up and then they pull forward towards the exit from the Civic Center, which then blocks your egress and looking down Durwood from the east. So we're going to talk to them and do some changes there. So we're looking at a lot of changes. We're not going to see anything from here until the end of summer, really. Sometime in the summer, we'll start doing stuff, mostly in the Civic Center. But the concept is to keep the Durwood by signage so that we could change it, but initially just do the north side from D Street to just a little bit past the library, about where the buses are currently.
What would it be to have Foothill Transit take a look at that, the relocation of that spot?
I think that's a discussion I will bring
spot.
up with Foothill Transit. I know I'm the representative with Foothill Transit.
That's why I'm kind of directing it toward
And,
you. What have you been doing?
Well, this is the first time this is coming up.
Yeah, I think
But discussion of where that parking spot is, a more appropriate spot would be all the way down at the far eastern end, where there's just the businesses in the north rather than City Hall and our activities here. But with the motion that, or the resolution that's up for today, I spent most of the day talking to Mr. Ritchie in the high school. He was informed by Mr. Ween that this would be coming up tonight. They have 300 spots for student parking in their parking lot. They give permits out until they run out of those 300 spots. And that happened in about February, beginning of March this year. The issue is people go, well, there's spots, they drive by and they see some spots open. They only hand out the amount of spots that they have, so that if a student that they have absent, there would be an open spot. They don't want to give out more because they want to make sure they have all spots for all their students. They in April, they had students reporting that there were no spots there, but they had permits. So they went out and there was many students. Our families are, when they get 16, get a license, then they give them a vehicle to drive. My concern by limiting, I believe in the Civic Center, having parking, only parking, making sure our senior citizens or anybody that's having activities in there that we should not have high school parking, which we have, Mr. Domer says, numerous times students are parking in there. My concern about blocking off, this at least the south side of the high school is that those students are still going to drive. Then they'll be parking on some of our resident streets. What's the ramifications of us doing this by looking down the road? Or will they park in the Stater Brothers parking lot where they can go there, or will they park in they ain't going to park in the movie parking lot because that's farther away to get there. So I understand of maybe doing the north side because that is maybe the closest up here to that, but the south side of leaving that open so that even our students are residents as well. And they have cars, they should be able to park there too. But a concern of just let's see if there's an issue. I'd rather them come back to the council and us talk about the south side rather than us going and saying, oh, we'll see how it works and then we'll either take it off down or not. We all know when something's put up, it takes a lot harder to take it back down.
Well, that would be my issue because of the fact that, I mean, having students and kids that went there is the fact that during the late afternoons, 3:30 to 4:30, that's when the population comes as far as residents for their kids and sports and stuff, especially on the upper half. But during the games and stuff, it filters through. That's much later. My concern is, like you say, is the seniors having enough room. That bus stop should be all the way at the top as you come across Durwood from White, because that is the worst spot in the world. And that would free up multiple spots. Not only the other situation with our homeless population, that's a dark area over there. Not a great spot for the buses. I would like a transition to, I think I agree with Rick that a transition to say, okay, let's start here. Let's have a discussion, see how that works. But that whole section there is necessary for our seniors. I've been in the parking lot trying to get in here during the day. There's no space available because we are crammed full of classes and stuff, which is wonderful for our community. But we want to make sure that our residents have enough space to get in here. But I think our relationship with our district and with our principal and the kids, we need to weigh that too. But obviously our seniors come first. But I think a transitional type where we go from one side, then go to the next side, but maybe not go all the way up the street. You know, go right to the gates where the gates start at the high school for the football games. And then from that spot up where you go to the baseball fields and stuff, you know, it's most of that time after 5 o'clock, their games usually start at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. That's when they really start. Unless it's soccer, and then that's 3:20, 3:30. So it's like.
Is this something that we should have Cody giving us some direction on as well?
Yeah, Cody has the city engineer has been part of this. This has been
And
a
if we did this,
multi-departmental.
if we did this 2-week study, if we did it in the last month and a half, that's when more kids have licenses at the high school.
And then you're
The
going to
seniors are
implement.
graduating, leaving, and they get them in the springtime more than they do in the fall.
Well, now that we're going to implement it, if we do, it'd be summertime. There's nobody there. So it's like, I mean, I think we need to be gentle about this. Granted that our seniors need the parking, but at the end of the day, this has been there a long time. Change is not well taken if we don't do it gently.
And
I mean, that's my belief. I mean,
yeah. Well, and Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's one of the reasons why, we went back and forth with, do we just get the agreement for the north side, to a certain level, or do we do north and south? And we figured if we just do it to posting, but get direction from you to just post the north side, we can then look at how it impacts. We're also open to just getting the actual direction, just the north side only. Just leave the south side of Durwood open for anybody, for students, not having any restriction. And then, we've been looking at this for probably before the spring semester. And we did love spring break because I wish at that point I would have taken photos of both the lot and Durwood because there were a lot of spaces open at that point. But the one thought is maybe take public comments, and then based on the public comments, then come back. And if there's a motion to do the north side only, then we'll go forward with that, and we can report back. After doing, we can do another 2-week assessment in the fall semester, and we can do another 2-week assessment next spring semester and bring this back to you about this time next year.
I think we open up public comment right now, and then we come back to us. Let's go ahead. Thank you, Captain Prowse. Let's open up public comment. Anyone wish to speak on, did you want to, anyone wish to speak on this? What? You can come back.
I'll come back.
We come back.
I need it.
We're going to open up public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Broken by the silence. I like that. Okay, we're going to close public comment. Councilmember Cash, you had something to talk about?
I just want to know if we could first see about how long does it take us to move that bus stop from there, preferably a little east more.
Doran Barnes has to discuss that. It's a financial issue,
Oh,
but I think it's a conversation that I have
please,
to have.
yeah, let's have that conversation. Preferably city.
Back to what we were talking about. I really don't think, I think we should discuss this a little more, not here tonight, but I think we need to have conversations with the school and see the impact. I mean, this is the first really, we're all hearing about it. I know that it came up, last Tuesday, but really a time to engage. We all have relationships with the schools, and I think it's important, our kids are important, but our seniors are important, but let's get maybe a happy medium here. I mean, I don't think that the north side would be an issue right now, which would be how many spaces? Cody, how many spaces? 20 spots?
20 spots.
That's up to the bus ramp, to the bus stops?
Can I
Go
ask
ahead.
you,
Or Lau.
within, since we haven't, I guess, really, we've had some discussions with the school, but to what extent is their lot striped to maximize the number of spaces that can be contained? Because it is coming up on summer. Is there an ability to look at that and restripe it so that more spots can be available within their designated parking areas?
I think they do angle spots, but I think it's
Yeah.
correct because they're underneath the solar shade
Mhm.
structures. So, I mean, and they've got a odd way that they've done that and they've separated it. I think that'd be a topic of conversation, because if they gained 15 or 20 spots, let's go ahead and take, if they could do that. I know it's a cost item, but I don't think the lines are very, very, very good. It's just paint.
We can most certainly ask them that. We've been communicating. I know I've had emails to the principal and to Matt about the parking issues, both in Malott and Durwood, for the entire year. But I think it's a good idea to, if we move forward with either just our lot or the 11 spaces on the north part of Durwood, and then checking with them about restriping their lot.
Our lot should be, no one should be parking in our lots.
Yeah.
Except for
Yeah,
employees and
Employees
the
and
people that are
seniors.
using
People
our
who are
services.
visiting.
And that's what we're really trying to do.
Right.
because-
Okay, if that's
Yeah,
part of that,
library,
then I
yeah.
agree with that 100%.
Yes.
But I think we're going into summer. You're going to have 2.5 months that nothing's going to happen.
But I think we're gonna have time, Mayor,
Yeah.
to at least have our amazing city engineer Cody over there is wearing a really nice suit and tie. We could have at least the ability to take a
I think
look at
give
that.
us,
And just so you know, we're only asking for 3-hour time limit at this point.
See what
So-
you did.
No,
Ken.
and I
Students,
get
it's
that.
a
but it's-
3-hour time limit.
They're in
So, yeah,
class.
and
After
fine.
lunch, they could technically come back after their lunch and they'd be left alone.
But where would they move I guess here's my thing, like, if lunch is 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is, I'm not spending 10 minutes of it cruising around to find a spot, right? Let's be honest. I'm leaving then. If I have to move my car, get ticketed, I'm not coming back for my afternoon classes. And that's a whole different problem we're not trying to create.
No.
Um,
See what you did,
okay,
Kevin.
well, here's the question. How many
3
spots are we
hours.
talking about to start with? Okay,
Uh-huh.
let's just figure that our lot, there's no parking in our lot, city hall lot, period. That's a gimme. I think that should be right off the bat, because they should not be parking in our parking lot, period. But outside that parking lot, if we bring it down the road to say, okay, we start with the first one. Our first would be the 11 spots.
What about on D?
Well,
So,
and
can
Mr. Mayor,
we-
members of
Oh,
council,
I mean,
So-
Can we go back? I think you brought up a good point. Rick brought up a good point. Before we even do that, can we talk to Foothill Transit so that they're not parking there and obstructing things? I think the other thing is, can we talk to the school about, can we restripe to maximize space? And if those are no's, then we start looking at
Okay.
these other things about,
So, as hearing where everybody's going and all this stuff and needing to make something happen in our lot, here's what I'd like to throw out. So we will go ahead and post our lot and enforce our lot. What that will do is probably kick out, I don't know, 15 to 20 or more.
That's a good start.
Cars.
That's a good start.
Which then we will see over the summertime where we're not going to have students. We'll see, the Wednesday bingo, we'll see our normal activities, and we'll see how many cars are there and see if there's still an issue with a full parking lot. At that time, we can, during that time, work with Foothill Transit, and we can talk to the school about restriping. So we'll get a lot more data during that time if we act on our current parking lot.
Yeah.
And then see if that allows more folks to park there.
What's our last class at City Hall?
I would have to call up Yvonne.
Yvonne, you
She's
mind?
gonna have to come
Hi,
all the
Yvonne.
way up to the podium to speak into the microphone
does not
in
wanna
order
do
to
that.
answer
Hi,
this.
Yvonne. I
I'm
know.
sorry, Jazzercise.
She-
There's a lot of items. I'm sorry. We'll be there shortly.
So the biggest problem right now is our senior programs. Right now, no one is parking in this lot right now because my staff, including myself, are enforcing that the kids don't park there because it's been a problem. So right now, what you see in the lot is our programs and its staff. Right now, what you see on Durward is completely the students, which I've been getting complaints. So I've been getting complaints at senior advisory and at the center. So this is why this was brought up in terms of the time frame. That way it would give seniors ample time because most of my programming for seniors is literally between 8 and 2 o'clock is senior programming. Wednesdays being the most impactful because I have bingo till about 4:30. And that's really the biggest problem. But my latest program for seniors, like I said, is about 2 o'clock or so. For bingo on Wednesdays is about 4:30. Our last program here in the center is typically about 7:30 p.m. So the center.
That's probably not a big issue though, the 7:30 p.m.
No, it's typically.
Only on a
the-
high school game, but that's not a high school. It's not Friday. What day is that? Wednesday? 7:30 is Wednesday? What day is the late night for your?
For us.
Yeah.
For late night, we're open till 8:30 p.m. at the center from 8. The
The
busiest
bus-
is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wednesday's
there's
the
not,
busiest.
there's not a sports.
So typically when Choose wasn't there, they would park back there or they would park next door. But right now, Choose is impactful. Unfortunately, sometimes you do see some of the Choose people in our parking lot as well.
Can't do that.
So I'm getting several complaints. So this is why it was brought up, just to try to alleviate kind of that north end at least. Even right now, I will tell you, so the pool's being worked on right now. Students usually park over there, but because it's closed off, they're not.
Oh, they walk
parking
through the
over there.
back way to
They
the high
walk through
school.
the back. So that's the other
Yeah.
way. They can park along Bowling Avenue and walk through the back way. But we have construction right now. So that's why they're not parking because they have to park a little further. So it is impactful, I will say. Staff has been receiving numerous complaints from our seniors. So we're trying to help them out, trying to even move staff. We have a little area here. I'll back up my car so that there's just more parking spots for the seniors. So it's been quite difficult. Right now, I will tell you, there is no students parking. So right now is everything is what you see.
So is there enough, if no students parking there, is that enough of a lot for your activities?
No, and we're the only, right? We're a little city. It's the only community center. It's the only building I can really program out of. So it is very busy and we share a lot with the library. So that's the other thing. At certain times it gets impacted because we share a lot with the library too. So it's a very busy place. So we're
So
trying
the
to-
11, so if we were to have those 11 spots right adjacent, which is the north side of Durwood, just kind of encompassing the whole city lot, as we go through this way, 11, is that gonna help tremendously?
It can help. And I understand council as well, like, hey, it's summer, it's not going to be as impactful, but it's easier to put something out now so students start to understand like, hey, this is time parking. I'm understanding this is what's going on. I will say there, it won't be impactful in the summer because summer school is going to be at Ramona. It's not going to be at Bonita. So there's still time to discuss most definitely. I can tell you right now, with assistance from Public Works and Director Meg McWade, she has assisted us because we have senior excursion this Wednesday. So we put no parking for this Wednesday. I have 46 seniors on this excursion. So on excursions, we ask them to park on Durward so they don't impact the parking lot. So we're really trying to figure things out. Moving forward, we moved excursions on Wednesdays, but it was our last one we scheduled. So we had to do something because there is not going to be any parking on Wednesday. So we're trying to mitigate it. We're trying to work with the seniors, trying to be helpful for them too. But it's really hard, and a lot of them are handicapped. A lot of them, it is hard to get to the front of the community center. So we're trying to figure it out. So it's not easy. I definitely understand, but we're trying to do something. And I think by doing like the north end first, kind of like from D Street to the bus stop, I think that's something we can start off with and kind of move from there. I think it would be helpful. So yeah, we're a busy place. We're definitely, all the rooms are full. Wednesday being the most impactful though.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well,
Green.
yes, sorry about this. One more thing. Cash brought up, though we have on D Street parking, there's, I believe, is there no parking on the east side of D Street, which is adjacent to the high school. Could that be spots that open up, not towards their gym because their buses and stuff gets there, but north of the light and forward? Is that a parking available?
That is something that we can talk to the school district and look back at the history of it and, you know, kind of
Next
assemble over summer. So that can be added on to one of those things to look at more striping in their lots, and a couple other things. So working with FTA for their bus stops, but I don't know the exact, we weren't looking at D Street, so I don't know the exact restrictions on there. And I do know that there's parking on the other side, but I don't know if that's a resident permit parking because it is a more of a, you know, multifamily resident area.
Well, D Street's probably one of the busiest streets in Laverne, besides Foothill, and that's a problem with kids opening their doors and parking and getting out. That would be my only concern.
Yeah.
And running across the street.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about the parking lot side,
we
but even
do
that.
we also have the ad hoc committee meeting coming up. We do that at least twice a year with the school district, and parking is on that agenda. So that would be a good first place to let them know what actions taken here and what we'd like to see going forward and further studies.
Well, I see the need for it. I think we had a little more discussion. I don't know personally. I think we need to check with Foothill Transit, but we also need to check with, as Councilmember Lau said, let's check on the striping, see if they can realign their parking. I mean, I'm not super opposed to those 11 spots, but I sure wouldn't go any more than that. I would, if you wanted to test it in that, I'm not totally against that. The parking lot for sure. Let's make sure that that's, you know, only for people that have business to do, whether it be the library or classes. As Director Duran said, I'm very concerned about the seniors on that. I mean, the kids are young, they can walk. It's not a big deal. I mean, come on, they're young, they can walk and they can do their thing. But I mean, are you guys opposed to maybe giving them 11 spaces, or should we?
No, I'm not, no.
I
I'm
think
not-
we should, are you opposed to 11 spaces just?
Do
for
we need
now?
a motion? Do we need a motion?
Do we need a motion for that?
As part of your, whatever the motion is, that would be great to have those, you know, from D Street to the.
Motion to make sure that we limit the parking in the Civic Center and the spots north on Durwood from D Street all the way to the library or the bus stop, which are currently
Captain Prowse, is that
11
what we're
spots.
talking about? That's a good, okay, that's okay. And I would add to that we will open this up. We will review this, and after once school starts, we'll review this and come back with more decisions on what other parking spaces, if at all, we would give back under a time limit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll just make that change into the resolution so you can still pass the resolution.
Okay. And then the direction for having the conversations with Foothill Transit and with the striping, that doesn't need to be included.
No,
in the
that's direction given to us, correct.
We got the
Okay.
ad hoc, so that'll be perfect. Okay, so we got the motion.
So the motion would be to approve resolution number 24 dash
24-X.
something.
We'll assign it after this.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Laverne, California, designating certain parking restrictions on Durwood Way during school hours, and that would be the north side as well as the Civic Center that's referenced. Thank you.
Second. We have a motion. Second. Second. Vote. Motion carries.
That item was approved 5-0.
Thank you, Captain Prowse.
And just, Mr. Domer, just as a piece of information, as you're going through and looking at all of this fun stuff, I will say, to Councilmember Crosby's point that we do have students already parking in residential, like on Evergreen and on some of those like side streets, 11th Street. And it's pretty congested there. So I think we need to get a good assessment of like, what are we really looking at? How big is the problem?
I have not worked in a city that did not have school parking, school traffic issues. So,
But again, we need to be delicate about it and open discussion. Yeah. Okay. We're done with that. Public comments. We'll now move on to public comments, oral communications. This time is set aside for anyone wishing to address the city council on the items not listed on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. I want to remind everyone that the Brown Act prohibits the city council from engaging in discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. However, your concerns may be referred to a staff place for discussion at a later date. There will be a 3-minute time or whatever on the public comments. We're going to try 3. We're running late. At this time, those wishing to make comments are present here in their chamber can come up to the podium. Oh, that's okay. If you come right on up.
I'm taking it.
Bill, you're next. And then we've got Sherry Best and Sherry Shaw. You've got Sherry Shaw. Good. Thank you.
Mayor Hepburn, City Council, and City staff. My name is Barbara Smythe, and I've lived in the city of Laverne for 17 years at Hillcrest, 2644 Mountain View Drive. I love Laverne for all the reasons stated in the internet's Bing Copilot, which always comes up when I'm looking for something, and the city's website. And that love for Laverne has only increased with the years of living here. Bing's description, quote, Laverne, a charming city nestled in the foothills of the San Gabriel Pomona Valleys. Whether you're a resident or just curious about the lovely city, Laverne offers a mix of natural beauty, community spirit, and modern amenities. The city's website is quite complimentary too. I quote, as one of the most desirable communities in metropolitan Southern California, Laverne is a progressive city that has retained much of its small town culture, unquote, and includes the following mission statement. The city of Laverne strives to maintain a full range of efficient municipal services to preserve our hometown charm and quality of life, while being responsive to the community's current and emerging needs. In addition to the mission statement adds, the City Council is committed to maintaining and continuing to enhance the quality of life in Laverne. I'm coming to you tonight to appeal to you to hold fast to the city's core values of preserving the city's natural beauty, quality of life, and hometown charm. I believe all are in danger of being challenged and jeopardized by developers whose primary interest is to make a buck and move on. Their interest is not in preserving the quality of life and the character of our city or adding to its natural beauty or its hometown charm. Instead, they're offering to fill every available space with urban islands of 3-story dense housing, removal of mature trees and play areas, and traffic congestion. I'm speaking of the Lutheran school site on Fruit Street, near where the old garden nursery was located, which has already been developed with sardine-like dense housing. Adding denser 3-story housing on the Lutheran property with little to no amenities and nothing but dense housing, we are looking at a
You've reached your 3 minutes, but I'll give you another 30 seconds, please.
just hang on to every word.
Okay.
At a future project like look to one of the major entrances of our city. Currently, the developers are looking at keeping the gym on the north side of the property, adding bathrooms and a small open space behind the gym for limited recreational use. They plan to take out the adjoining shaded quad area with a shade structure, picnic table, mature trees, and half of the parking lot so that housing can come right up to the street. At this point in time, this is just a proposal. Only the affected neighborhoods have been notified, and last week they had a public meeting with the developers. The developers have not as yet brought this proposal to the Planning Commission or to the City Council, as far as I know. We have an opportunity to think about what we value. What would be best for the future of Laverne, for new residents to our community? Will they share our same values and experience Laverne the way we're experiencing Laverne when living in cramped quarters with few to no trees, and when the only park near them requires driving a car on congested trees? I don't think so. What if we insisted that the quad area in front of the school, its trees, one building, and the entire parking lot be excluded from housing structures and developed into a park for these new residents and adjacent neighbors? What would
Barbara,
be the
I really appreciate it, but we
Okay.
have to move on, and we've received all this, and we're all read it, and we take it to heart. We appreciate
All I
that.
can say is that there are plenty of benefits to parks. The public likes council people that care about parks. And it benefits the community and health and mental health and joy in living in a
Your
place
point's
that-
well taken. Thank you very much. Sherry Shaw, you're looking like, who's he calling? The one that's been waiting the whole night.
Thank you. I thought you were calling Sherry Best again. So.
He said,
Mayor Hepburn, City Council, city staff, and residents of Laverne. My name is Sherry Shaw. I'm a resident of Laverne, living at 6088 Prairie Falcon Drive. And we've been there since the year 2000. Starting in 2003, I have had the great privilege of teaching jazzercise here in my own hometown. Our class has even been relocated to this very room when the city council meetings had to be in the LMR, and I've taught from that very dais. Jazzercise is without a doubt the best program you now offer at the city, providing physical and mental health benefits for hundreds of our residents over the years. The students behind me tonight will attest to that and have given up their class tonight to let you know how important it is to them. On February 20th, the city notified us that Jazzercise would have to choose between a contract class or a rental. Since the rental fee would be $300 a class, resulting in a total monthly fee of $4,800 a month, this was not an option. Jazzercise has operated as a contract class in the city for over 20 years, and that is exactly what we are. The problem is the new agreement requires that the city handle our students' payments and would pay the instructor 70% with 30% going to the city for each class. Our franchise agreement precludes us from allowing third-party collection of such funds. City staff has mentioned that some of the problems they had with the contract classes were due to state regulations of AB 5. The city worked above and beyond with other instructors, making them part-time employees and having to offer workers' comp. As we are considered employees of Jazzercise, according to AB 5, and workers' comp is already being provided to us according to our franchise agreements, the city would not need to do this. In addition, we carry our own liability insurance for your facility, naming the city as additionally insured. All of these are huge benefits to the city. Your other instructors cannot offer. Our franchise agreement is actually a blessing in disguise to the city. We have worked with city staff, starting with the community services coordinator, then Yvonne, director of community services, and then on to JR and Ken. We prepared a red line markup of the agreement with minor changes and asked that the city attorney consider it. The modified agreement allows Jazzercise to collect our own funds and still provide the city with the same 30% rent from the original contract. In summary, we're simply asking that the city work with us in the same fashion and courtesy the city provided the other instructors by having the city attorney review and approve our modified agreement. Mr. Domer has taken the time to really get in the weeds with us and understand our dilemma, and said that he would have it reviewed alongside our franchise agreement for a possible solution. And we appreciate this consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate you guys hanging out, because really you got some meat and potatoes tonight along with this. So sort of meat and potatoes. Bill, Mr. Nolan.
Just wanted to make a couple comments. I liked your presentation at the Rock of the Foothills the other day. That was awesome that you came out. It was informative, and we really got a lot out of it. It was something that we look forward to seeing more of, and I think in the future we probably will. The other thing I wanted to mention, it may go a little bit against her grain, about the Lutheran High School project. I liked it. I liked it for what it's, from what I saw. There are single family residents there. Yes, there's some high density housing. I do agree with her on one part where I'm not in favor of a gym being there. I think that gym is kind of an eyesore. It looks bad, but I think pickleball courts or trees, something to take its place would look better. I know that I've mentioned to a few of you on another subject, the traffic on Amherst, where traffic goes through. I know we've heard about the traffic for a long time. I mentioned it to Ken at the meeting the other day. I know I've mentioned it to you, and I've mentioned it to others about removing that blockade that's the end of Baldwin Street. I'd like to set forward a resolution tonight to have that removed. I think it's about time. I've heard several of you agree that should happen, and why not? You're here, we're here, and we can make that a through street. Fire department would probably enjoy that. Police department. I think it's a safety issue. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Sherry Best.
I've been sitting here wondering how I might whittle my talk down to 3 minutes. And that's going to be tough to do, but I'm also going to speak to the Lutheran High School property and the outcome of that. I went to the meeting a week ago, Monday on April 22nd, and then also the following Friday, and met with the developers for about an hour, and only 2 people showed up for that meeting. Wasn't that interesting? Barbara and myself. And we talked for a long time. And as a result of that conversation, I would like to say my immediate thoughts is that the outcome of development to 140 to 160 units at the 9.5 acre Lutheran Park property will result in insufficient park space, with children in that neighborhood having to cross Foothill Boulevard to access any park, substantial additional density in a neighborhood that has already absorbed the density at Bradford and Foothill, at Amherst and on Fruit Street, inadequate parking for anybody who wished to attend the gym activities, which is part of the developer's suggestion to us, and most of all, lost of the last centrally located open space within the city that could be developed into a park. So I would like to propose 2 options, and I'll send this to everybody as a complete email. The first is that the city look into purchasing an additional acre, much like what Barbara Smythe talked about and purchase what I call the quad area that is a kind of an oval grass area with several mature trees and an existing shade structure to add to the existing offer made by the developers. Doing that would set back the townhomes from Fruit Street, mitigating that kind of canyon look that you get when you have buildings that come right up to the sidewalk. They would soften the impact of the residential development and preserve mature trees. But I want to leave the remainder of what I'm talking about here for something much bolder. And that is looking into purchasing the entire 9.5 acre property and annexing it to the city. This is an opportunity. Preserving the entire space for a larger city-owned park would be ambitious. I know that. It's not going to be in the general fund, but it has numerous advantages. It creates a large park for all residents to enjoy in a part of Laverne that has no park space. There would be no further increase in traffic and density into an area of Laverne that has absorbed considerable housing development. It would preserve all the mature trees and green space on the property. It would preserve current parking spaces to allow sufficient room for citizen access to the gym, and it would solve that senior parking issue because the additional spaces that would be created by the buildings that currently exist on the Lutheran High School property could be converted into space for senior activities. And there's lots of parking for that, and it's ADA compliant. And there are bathrooms already. So it's move-in ready in some ways. So I think we need to have a frank and open discussion at the citizen level about the possibility of enacting a bond measure to either purchase another acre, that's the quad concept, or to purchase the entire 9.5 acres to transform the Lutheran High School property into a park that all residents can enjoy in perpetuity. Once a city loses its open spaces, they are gone forever. The Lutheran High School property represents one of the last existing centrally located, accessible, large spaces in the city. So it is really time for Laverne residents, not so much the city council, but the people who live in this city, to ask themselves if they want to pay it forward and tax themselves to purchase a desirable future for their children and grandchildren through enacting a bond that will enhance their quality of life forever, or get trampled by interests that are not in their interest. And that's the further development of into residential housing. So on the subject of local history, I would like to remind Laverne residents that the original property where the Lutheran High School is located belonged to the Kalusic family, who made the land available to the Lutheran Church for a price considerably less than they could have gotten for developing that property into housing in the first place. In addition, it is my understanding this family also gave a considerable sum of money outright to the church to facilitate building the school.
Sherry, if we could close it.
I'm getting there.
Thank you.
Their behavior was an act of old-fashioned faith and devotion, and the contemporary Lutheran church leaders need to be reminded of that fact. Another piece of local history concerned how developers can create value. The Heritage Park and Weber House were part of a deal that Lewis Holmes made to gain control of the land that they developed. That park has become a site of numerous events that enhance the quality of life for Laverne's residents and create monetary value for the city. Assistance from the city to the Laverne Mobile Country Club was another sound investment that yielded sufficient additional income to build the Las Flores Aquatic Center, which continues to support activities of the high school, the university, and the greater community. Last paragraph. I recommend that the residents of Laverne take a position that is community-oriented, collaborative, and forward-thinking by working with city government to pass a bond measure that preserves as much of the Lutheran High School property as possible for current and future generations. We can participate in guiding the city into the future we want it. I look forward to a productive, civil, and open dialogue among Laverne's city administration and residents about the future of the Laverne High School property. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Anybody else on public comment? Ms. Beauchamp?
For those of everybody that have spoke on the Lutheran High School property, I just want to remind them that this Wednesday, May 8th at 6:30 PM in this chambers is the Planning Commission meeting. And so you should attend that meeting and make your position known to the commission because it will start with them on whether or not they change the zoning for high density from educational. I have to say that I'm extremely disappointed about the psych eval. This council thinks that having this psych eval, which is unconstitutional, it's just a matter of time before that's decided, that you think having that is going to keep this city safe. Yet nobody on this council has done anything to increase the safety on Baseline Road. And how many people have died on Baseline Road from accidents, from speeding? And Amherst is getting awfully close to catching up to Baseline Road. I was talking to a neighbor across the street yesterday afternoon, and a car drove down westbound on Amherst at least 60 miles an hour and blew through the stop. And the family that I was talking to, they have 3 small children. It only takes a second for a kid to run out in that street, and that car would not be able to stop. So you think you're saving lives with psych eval, but no, nothing's being done about the speed. I know that the police officers are, so thin right now, and there's bigger fish to fry, but we've got to do something about the speed because people are dying out there because of it. So you're like picking and choosing which lives are more important. And I really thought when one of your own died in that accident, Billy Elfman on Baseline, that alone would have motivated you to make something happen, to make a conversation take place, and it still hasn't happened. And every city council meeting, I bring it up and bring it up and bring it up, and nothing's done. So what is it going to take for this council to finally take action? I want someone to present that to me so that I can do whatever it's going to take to light the fire. I appreciate that. Mr. Crosby, you're my representative of District 2. I look to you to please share your ideas with me because I'm running out of energy and positivity to ask for help. Last week, and many of these people know that are my friends, I had a softball teammate who lives in Las Vegas. She was shot and murdered by her husband, who then committed suicide in front of their 12-year-old son. So I know the importance of background checks and making sure that somebody is a safe person to carry a firearm or own a firearm. And it's been difficult for me to come to terms with that. But at the end of the day, we should not be infringing on people's rights, especially if they're God-given. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else wish to speak on public comment? That will close public comment. Council comments. Councilmember Lau.
So a couple of things. I know we'll talk about this a little bit more at the next council meeting, but did also want to recognize that May is also AAPI Heritage Month, which is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And to that end, I would recommend that anyone who's looking for resources with respect to mental health, visit Tri-City Mental Health Awareness's website or their social media, as they have multiple activities planned throughout the month to encourage folks to take care of their own mental well-being. I talked a little bit earlier, obviously, about 4th of July and the sponsorships. So that's still available if people want to have more information about that. But I did also want to celebrate a couple of things that have happened over the course of the last few weeks. For those of you that know, Chief Gonzalez was sworn in officially as our chief on April 18th. It was a really good event. And I have to commend both Mayor Pro Tem Steve Johnson for his speech and Mayor for phoning it in from Europe. So, literally he videotaped himself. So it was nice for Sam to be able to get that recognition. So if you haven't had a chance yet, then please extend your congratulations to our chief. As you know, he's been doing a lot of work already as our interim chief. And so really appreciate that. And thank you for all that you do. I also wanted to recognize any of you who are aware of Sergeant Weinreb, and we do have 2 Weinrebs we did have 2 Weinrebs on the force, but Martin Weinreb recently retired from the force on May 2nd after I think 29 years of service to the city, both as a mechanic originally and then retiring as a police officer. So we wish him well in his new chapter of life and wish him all the best as he gets to tackle his honey-do list now that he's no longer doing our to-do list. And then just really briefly, I also just want to say, as we mentioned, the LA County Fair is open. It's in full effect. And I want to say thank you again to the chief, to Lieutenant Wells, to Captain Prouse for engaging with our community who had concerns about traffic and what the impact that might be to our local businesses and to just the residents in that area. And so I really appreciate you reaching out, Mr. Domer as well, really looking into how can we make this a fun fair. We all love the fair, but we don't love the traffic. So thank you for tackling that one. So I encourage everybody, if you don't get to go to Laverne Day for whatever reason on Friday, please do come. I think Walter Marquez shared some interesting facts at opening day about how many people come through the fair in a very short amount of time. We rival attendance numbers for Knott's Berry Farm. We rival attendance numbers, not with Disneyland on a big scale, but yeah,
3 million for Knott's Berry Farm in a year. And
Yeah.
the fair sees 750 to 850,000 people
within
in the
couple
24 days
that
crazy.
it's open. So, I mean, that does drive a lot of revenue into our city. Does do a lot of good things to highlight what's amazing here. But the fair's a fun time. Who doesn't love fried food and music and, a beer as you stroll around and people watch? So
Just make sure when you have the fried food that you jazzercise for 12 hours. Remember, the calories you have to burn, you'd have to run around the earth 5 times for one of their sandwiches. So,
But
or
who's
fried
counting?
Oreo, but who's
But
counting?
who's counting? So it's one time a year. So definitely have a good rest of this week, and we will see you soon. But as always, be kind to one another and have a good. Thank you for hanging out with us this late. So,
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Okay, well, Whitty, you took a little bit of my wind out of the sail, but I'm a little disappointed that the fair plan didn't actually show up. But
That's not fair.
it's not.
Oh, wait.
It's not fair, and I do deal with the fair plan daily, trying to issue policies and trying to make changes. And it is a very frustrating process, and it's a frustrating company to deal with just because of the volume that they have. And I'm happy to see that the city is doing the Firewise program, because it'll help every resident. If the entire city is classified as the fire safe zone, everybody should be receiving a discount on their homeowners insurance in the future. So yeah, you would expect that but it does require participation from residents to keep their home in a fire safe condition. So glad to hear they were coming. Not.
They do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Councilmember Crosby.
Just want to thank the participation today. I think we had the most people in our council chambers in a while and to stay the longest. So
Okay, jazzercise, you got it. Okay,
Appreciate
you got something, you did it.
I-
I mean, we're gonna need this after sitting so long. You might have to help us.
I just our presentations today of our Older Americans Month proclamation and our Military Appreciation Month proclamation. Those proclamations really highlights some of the finest things in our city. Look forward to hearing more about the Veterans Memorial statues and what they are promoting. I want to remind people that our Veteran Resource Center is open in the community center. We have someone from our Veteran Resources from 8:30 to 4:30 on Mondays. Is it every Monday or is it Monday the 20th? It's every Monday. I know I got a couple people going there. If you don't know where it is, ask when you get in there. They will make sure and point you to the right room and get you in there. Today, I unluckily had to miss the Laverne Police Association fundraiser golf tournament, but appreciate our Laverne Police Association, what they do for our police and their members, and never miss a fun time out there with them. But today work came up sudden, so darn that work thing, we gotta get rid of that. But appreciate everybody and look forward to our next meeting and then Memorial Day festivities at the Veteran Hall.
Councilmember Cash.
Well, I'm glad in a way you didn't come today to the. I was there at the Laverne POA and it was an amazing time. I would have probably lost to you and Riley, of course, as I always do every year. But that was a great opportunity, a great time to support our law enforcement brothers and sisters that here serve our city. So I also attended the Laverne San Dimas Education Foundation golf tournament where I lost again to you and your daughter, which is okay at this point. I had a
guess we're
great time.
just a couple of losers, huh?
Yeah, it's just I can't win, but that's okay. And a great opportunity I had was to represent the city, and you, Mayor, was on April 21st, where I presented the Eagle Scout recognition letter and scrolls over in Damien High School.
How many?
It was five amazing Eagle Scouts, and I did not know this, but less than 6% of those in the Boy Scouts make it to Eagle Scout, the role of Eagle Scout. So
And soon we will have our first girl Eagle Scout.
Nice.
She is completing her work, final project up at Bonita High School.
Nice.
But our first female's coming.
Well, looking forward to recognize her. But I would like to at least name those amazing Eagle Scouts. So Luke Ballantine, Jack Douglas, Ryan Douglas's brother, Quinn Guerrero, Laverne's very own, and Sergio Santamaria. So congratulations, gentlemen, on a job well done. And last but never least, I just realized it. If you haven't realized it, it looks like we're getting a Tesla supercharge station.
Oh, Mr. D's.
Man, right there by Mr.
didn't know
D's.
that.
I did not know that. I drove by the other day.
I
I
was
kept
there
looking at
yesterday
it.
getting breakfast, and at Mr. D's
saw
in the
that?
corner, you drive in from the baseline on that one driveway on baseline,
Yeah.
you drive in, look to your left real quick.
Yep.
And I don't know, Director Shear, is there 10 or 12 charging stations? Maybe it's like eight or something. They took that corner, and anyway, there's Tesla charging stations. So we are starting to put charging stations in Laverne.
Not cool.
Thank goodness.
That's it. And thank you for those that attended the guac and roll on Saturday. All right, what's up? That was pretty cool. I came a little bit late. People kind of leaving, but they all said they had a great time. So kind of missed it, but special shout out for those that went to the guac and roll. All right.
You never see
America.
something amazing.
No, great time. Thank you.
Well, first of all, happy Mother's Day, everybody, this Sunday.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy it. Make sure you do nothing. Make sure they do everything. Your children, your husbands, your partners, whoever it may be, make sure they do everything. Wine Walk was an absolute success. Director Shear, did we just about sell out? We sold out. Yeah, we sold out. So
Wow.
over 1,000. So it's just a testament to our downtown business district, our development director, Eric Shear, and his staff, Public Works, everybody that involved themselves. So that was a success. We were there. Mr. Johnson was checking people in. I was dancing around, taking pictures and looking at all the foods and stuff. It was incredible. People did a fantastic job, just a fantastic job. Also, we have Memorial Day coming up, as Councilmember Crosby stated. And I want to thank everybody. When I was gone, everybody did a great job. We have a great council, great staff. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson was able to bring his dad's gavel in, which is really cool, which his dad got. So Frank Johnson. So that was cool. But thank you all for covering on all this stuff. We're a really good team up here. We take care of each other and cover each other when we need to. But there was a lot of things going on when I left, and I really appreciate that. Let's see. I think we have a birthday this Friday, Mr. Domer.
Who is it?
And
Who
that
is
would
it?
be our Chief Sam Gonzalez. So with that, I think that we have to sing happy birthday,
birthday.
to Chief
Hey,
Sam Gonzalez.
all right, Chief.
So
Come up here.
on three, 1,
You
2,
can stand.
3.
Happy birthday to you. Semper Happy birthday to you. Someone. Happy birthday, dear
Chief Sam Gonzalez.
Happy birthday to you.
And when you're off duty, I promise I'll buy you a beer. I promise, or whatever you want. Doesn't matter. A pony. I'll buy a pony. I'll buy Chief a pony. Oh my gosh. Okay. 9:35. Thank you, everybody, council, for your comments. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for all of our staff. The next regular Laverne City Council meeting is Monday, May 20th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. As a reminder, upcoming events and meetings are posted on the last page of the city council agenda. At this time, we'll adjourn into closed session. Before doing so, then don't put that on there.
You're reading it verbatim?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't been doing recess for how long, and you put that on there, and I read, okay. We will be recessed into closed session. Before doing so, City Attorney Barlow will please read the closed session items for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, we will be discussing significant exposure to potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B. One case, and that is with respect to the BKK landfill located in West Covina. We also have on the agenda the California Pistol and Rifle Association, Inc. versus Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for this United States District Court for the Central District of California. Case number 2:23-CV-10169-SPGADSX pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. That is all.
Thank you, Attorney Barlow. We're going to open up public comment on this. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? I didn't think so. We'll close public comment. We will recess into closed session. Everybody have a great night, and thank you for your attendance. We will adjourn at 9:37 p.m.